And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll with Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did you just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No! Oh my god.
Yikes, you bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good afternoon from Starbase, Texas, where we have Booster 19 out on the pad for more testing. But as you can see by the title, there is a potential that this might be the first ever static fire of a version 3 booster and over at pad 2. But we'll talk into the details of what could be testing, what might be testing, and what we're seeing. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I am your host. I'm not leaving yet. I'm your host for today's stream, and of course, I am not alone. Joining me on commentary today is Alex. How's it going, Alex?
Well, I mean, it's about time that we get some fire, hopefully today, right? I'm doing fantastic. Let's see what happens.
Oh, we're all excited to see. Also joining me on commentary is Ryan Weber. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going fantastic. I cannot wait to see what we get today. Hopefully we do get some, the static fire. I'm crossing my fingers. And just as it was doom and gloomy all morning and really, really windy, it looks like it's starting to clear up at Starbase here. Really, really clear blue skies incoming, and kind of sets up perfectly for the test we got coming.
I love it. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come. And also on commentary today is Max Evans. How's it going, Max?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, could be a very big day ahead of us in terms of testing and a possible christening here of the launch mount and pad 2 in general. Long time coming, and everything seems to be pointing in that direction, but we will have to see what the day brings.
We will definitely have to see, and Carson Phillips is the one today pushing the buttons and pulling the levers. So that is your team for current stream operations. Now, Ryan, obviously, you see the title of the stream here. The hype is there. Could this be a static fire, and what signs are there / would there be for that happening today?
Well, as for signs, SpaceX has done 3 tests so far with Booster 19 out on the pad. They've done a regular tanking test, then they did what looked like a spin prime, and then they did a igniter test yesterday with what looks like they might have spun up the pumps a little bit along with it or something along those lines. But that's 3 tests in a row, testing all the systems, testing the engines. And all those days, they also... first day they tested a deluge. The other 2 they only used the DSS, the detonation suppression system, which is just water and like nitrogen. And they've always had cones and other things in front of the trench exits. And well, today they don't have that. This is the cleanest we've ever seen this pad since they started construction 22 months ago, in May of 2024. There's no tape, there's no cones, there's nothing there. So if they planned on firing those engines after doing all those tests, there's nothing in the way. I would say I'm pretty confident they'll do a static fire today. The biggest question becomes is how many engines? Do they do a few, or do they do only like 10? Or they do all 10 that they have installed on it? And as for what we're looking at for a T0, well, the methane reclaim vent started a little while ago, and based off of the timings of the last 3 days, they've been able to progressively reduce the amount of time it takes to chill down the methane side by like half an hour each day. So they're down to about an hour and a half of chill down needed for the methane, which means RT0 is going to be in the 1:40 p.m. Central mark, so probably an hour and 5 minutes from now is where I think we're looking, which also means prop load is in about 35 minutes, if we're give or take. So we're just gonna we'll have to wait and see when those subcooler vents really start kicking up. But we're not that far away from what we might see here.
Oh, that is awesome. That is exciting. And yeah, so again, all the signs are pointing to it. Of course, it is SpaceX. Things could always change. And it is a new pad and a new version of the booster. So you never know what might happen. So just noting there. And a reminder, by the way, if you have questions throughout the stream today, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we'll do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can. As we take a look now over at some of the tank farm activity, Max, what should we be expecting tank farm-wise for when they get into the deep part of testing here?
So kind of like Ryan was just saying, once we see the actual box vent here on the right-hand side of your screen, which is on the lock side of the tank farm really kicking up, that is a sign that actual prop load on the vehicle should be starting fairly soon. But the tank farm, for the most part, has been active pretty much all morning, starting with that vent that you are seeing on the right-hand side of your screen, just in much smaller form and pulsating on and off for a period of a few hours. But those brown vertical tanks there on sort of the center left side of your screen are the methane reclaim tanks and systems, and they use one at a time. And obviously the plumbing that you can see on from the very top of the tank coming down to the bottom is all white and frosty, which is a sign that the methane side of the tank farm is also active. So we need both. We obviously need both sides of the tank farm ready and active to support any real testing of a booster or ship here, or both, I guess, mostly. But yeah, that is what we are looking out for right now. It is certainly a lot more alive than it has been in previous hours. As Ryan was saying, just based off of the timeline of events between certain vents kicking up and plumbing getting frosty, we should be about 35-ish minutes away from a prop load starting or so, or maybe closer to a half hour. But yeah, so that is essentially what we are looking for now, and it'll be pretty obvious once prop load operations are about to commence, when those vents kick up and become even more obvious than they are now, because they can get it's fairly obvious once they're running at full pace.
Oh yeah, it's very obvious to see.
You can, and even in this, you can see the methane reclaim vent, which is the leftmost vent there. And then the center one is your booster. There's the center one right there. Thanks, Alex. Is your booster subcooler vent, and then over on the older way on the right, you can kind of see two vents coming out of that box fan. That's because there's two different vents for each set of booster lock subcoolers. So there's 4 smaller subcoolers that are more towards Highway 4, and then there's a large subcooler that's a little bit farther away, and their exhaust both gets routed into the box fan there, and you can kind of see the 2 separate vents there. So all systems for booster and whatnot and locks are in full chill down. We can even see the frosty methane line right there. It's looking really good for test today, and looking really good for, as Max is saying, and I said earlier, we're probably prop load in like 30 minutes or less.
And by the way, I'm sure you saw on the screen, we do have Alex art today with the illustrator there.
Yeah, hi. I changed the colors now to green. Well, I don't like it. I'll probably change it later.
Anyway, so we know that right now they have the 10 engines currently installed on Booster 3 in a very unique configuration.
Booster 3?
Version 3 here. Booster 19. I'm sorry, my brain is
what?
Not matching my mouth today. There we go.
Booster 3 also had very limited number of engines installed on it for its static fire, so...
You know what I mean. Version 3. Booster 19. Anyway, Alex, how many of them do you think we might see ignite today?
I think if they go for the static fire, they're going to go for all 10. Because we've seen that even for loading propellant. Like, I originally thought, they're just going to be doing, like, half of the tank or a little bit of propellant and things like that. But they went straight towards the full load for a static fire test, right? Back when they did the first test. Was that on Monday last week or Tuesday or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like if they're gonna be doing a static fire test, they're just gonna do all 10, because why would you do any less than that, right? It's already at less than a third of the full complement, right? So might as well do the whole 10 at once and be done with it, right? So it's not like they have not done, to add on to this train of thought that I'm having right now, is that it's not like they will be testing these engines right away. Like, we saw a spin prime last week. We saw an igniter test yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And so it's not like they haven't tested these with sort of lesser tests or less risky tests, right? They've done full load of the booster 3 times already. This will be the 4th. They've done already spin primes, igniter tests. So it's like, might as well just do the full static fire with all 10, right? That's my posture on this, my thinking, yeah.
So that's one half of the question. Now the other half of the question, which Mounjaros is asking, is how long of a static fire are we expecting? And will we see it similar to what we see over at Massey's? Ryan, what do you think?
So Massey, I know we've seen 60-second static fires at Massey's. I really don't know what 39 is going to do whenever it gets there. I don't really expect them to do 60 seconds. I kind of expect at least a 10 to 20. 60 seconds is not great for that trench. I'll just put it that way. They could do a long duration one. They could run this for 20 seconds. I wouldn't be that surprised if they tried to. Or maybe run a few for like 10 seconds and shut them down and run another 5 for 20. There's a lot of different configs they could do, but they definitely have the capability to run this for a little bit of time. It's not like on the other pad, on the old pad scrap, pad 1, whatever you want to call it at this point. It's gone now. Where they could only really do 10 seconds. And if they try to go a little bit longer, I mean, they might have been able to, but there really wasn't a need to. Here, we've seen them run this deluge, what seems like full power, for almost like 30 or 40 seconds or more. So there's a chance that they could run it for a decent amount of time. But again, we'll have to find out. Maybe we might have found out in less than an hour. So we'll see.
And that's what we're all here doing, the old Texas tank watching again. This time, static fire potential testing, though. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And don't forget, you can keep an eye on all of the action going on from all of our cameras, because we have a members multi-view up for today's testing. So if you are a member at any level, you can go ahead and check that out, run it in a second window, have it going alongside. Just a reminder on that one, we are not able to read the chat and basically, answer any questions over there. But if you want all of the views that we have of this testing today, definitely go ahead and check that out at any membership level. So that includes Snailbummy, who became a Padrat member, and Philemon, who became a Padrat member as well. Jerwa also becoming a Padrat member. Flippers gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much for doing that over at one of the people that works over at McGregor Live. And then we also have Kirito gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Love people sharing the love today. DMHMT saying a little money as thanks for commentary. Can you say again what y'all think the temporary vent on the west ? Side of the OLM is for?
That seems to be a drain vent. What I think it is I think it hooks into the booster, and when they're entirely done testing everything, any residual locks that's left in the bottom aft of the booster, they use that vent to just drain it out and vent it off, rather than doing it through the QD. I don't know why it's not done through the QD, but that's kind of what my thinking is as to what it is. We haven't really been able to see where it hooks up. All we know is that it runs close to where the LOX QD is and just off the side of the mount. It likely won't stay. This is probably a one-time thing only. We'll see if it comes back when Booster comes back out with 33 engines, but this is probably, I would hazard a guess, this is like a one-time only thing for just this testing, since this is all pretty new for the not only the mount team, the pad team, but also the booster team. And hey, the sun's starting to come out now with all this like perfectly clear skies. Like,
and also a reminder, this is new for all of us too. This is the first time that SpaceX is doing this, so we're also kind of learning along with you of what they are, what they likely are, and again, if they'll be back for the next testing, because this is all first. Cornbread saying, lying in bed last night contemplating why they can't load and dump simultaneously, keeping the ship frosty in a delay situation. I mean, isn't that kind of just boil off? Isn't that the same deal? Someone?
The keeping this load and dump simultaneously.
Then you will need a separate drain
Yeah.
line, and they fill and drain through the same ports and through the same pipes. Like, because I'm guessing this is from yesterday's conversation that we had about, you know, how loading propellant on the booster is different than draining it, right? The different procedures that they use, etc., and the different considerations. They are able to do that because there's just one connection, and it's the fill and drain valve and fill and drain line, and it's called like that because you fill, but also drain from that line, right? And so it's one for both, rather than having two different separate pipes or connections or things like that. Which, if you think about, will lead to more trouble, because then that means it's a separate thing that you have to add to your systems. It's a separate thing that can fail. It's a full-on list of different disadvantages of having a separate drain line and connection.
You need a much bigger QD if you were to have two separate fill drain lines, than a much bigger QDs than they already have. And it's a waste of space. It's a waste of mass on the vehicle, because not only that, you also need separate lines inside the vehicle. So that's more plumbing to add as well in order for the fill drain line. So it's, yeah, so you use the same port for the same thing. Almost all the ports on, pretty much all the ports on the boost, on the, not only the booster QD, but the ship QD are have the same function. It's fill and drain. So.
Yeah, it's relatively common in spaceflight to see that.
Yeah.
Skull Kid asking, Max, I'll throw this one to you. Was yesterday's test just an igniter test, or could it be a failed static fire? Why would they fill the ship just for an igniter test?
You know, I think the igniter system on the Raptor 3s is far different than what they had on the Raptor 1s and Raptor 2s. As far as we are aware, I mean, information on that front is pretty limited and scarce, because we don't see the CAD drawings or anything of the sort for the Raptors. But as far as we can tell from yesterday, just based off of these sounds and what we saw below the launch mount, that just looked like the just like the igniters that we have both seen and heard before on previous boosters. They have a very distinct sound to them when they go off. If it was a failed static fire and the igniter still went off, that would be a signal for a lot of bigger issues within the engines themselves. So we are fairly confident that was just a test of the igniters. So, and obviously I think we have audible clips of this before on previous boosters. I think one of the most prominent ones, I believe, was Flight 8 or Flight 9, and whichever boosters were corresponding to them. Maybe a flight prior. I'm not entirely sure, but we have witnessed it and also heard it before. I mean, you can't really see much anyway, but I think the fact that we had the DSS going there last night or yesterday gave something for the light from the igniters to bounce off of, and actually allowed us to see exactly what happened there. The Raptors have a very special ignition system, being torch igniters in both of the methane and oxygen-rich preburners, which then feed into the main combustion chamber for full combustion. So it's a unique process to see them both seen and heard tested. But again, we have seen that we have seen that numerous times before. And if that was a failed static fire attempt, I can almost guarantee you they would not be out there today trying to do whatever testing that they had to move forward. Because if that was a failed static fire, and based on what we saw with the flash and noises, engines usually don't like that. That's usually a sign of a very or multiple unhappy Raptors. So yeah, we are pretty confident that was just a test of the igniters.
And I mean, the sounds of it, you gotta admit, were really cool. If you didn't see it or hear it yesterday, I know we have some clips of it over on the socials. X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, we've got the clips of it. You can hear it. The sounds was really, really nice. Really cool.
Also, no deluge system was activated at any point. I
Sure.
can assure you that if they were to do a static fire test, you would see the deluge system activate. Because otherwise, that flame change will not like it.
Yeah.
This is a playback of it from yesterday at 38% speed.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's the flash.
Yeah, if that was a failed static fire, then it
The
can't
failure
be a
will
failed
have
static
begun
fire.
a lot earlier.
Yeah, because they didn't activate the deluge. If
Yeah.
they intended on firing those engines, I even think if they intended on even doing a pre-burner, they would have fired off at least the ridge,
Yeah.
if not the whole thing. There's no reason not to. It doesn't take long to refill that thing.
If a Raptor usually flashes like that, and that was in an attempt to ignite it, normally we see that over in Central Texas, and that is usually met also with a cloud of black smoke afterwards, which we did not see yesterday, thankfully. But yeah, also which I completely missed out on was there was obviously no deluge activation, which is what they would need to support a firing of any Raptors at all, whether it be one or all 10 currently installed on the booster.
You mean over there on your left at McGregor, which you can see on McGregor Live 24/7 there with
Yes.
what looks like some stage 2s just kind of hanging out there?
Yeah, I was
There's
going to
actually
say,
two
funny
there,
enough.
I think. There's two there.
no-
Oh, and the one on the right has the mission extension kit on the RP1
The
tank.
gray
Look
stripe?
at that.
Yup. So those are for Falcon 9, by the way. Not anything Starship related, but yeah, those are Falcon 9 stage 2s. Oh, that's so cool.
But you can see there's already been a Raptor test on the Raptor North stand, 110 seconds, and it was about an hour ago. So you can go back an hour and you'll see a Raptor firing on McGregor Live 24/7.
We were actually watching it here in the back channel. We were waiting to see where the testing was going on. All of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, they're just doing a Raptor firing. So while we're talking about the pad infrastructure and things over there, of course, there's still the crane, and we had a couple of questions about that. Brian Cabot wondering, is the crane out of the danger zone? And also Astro Playground wondering, why is the crane even still there? Is there something else that needs to be done on the tower before launch?
Well, the crane is still there because there's a new roof that they're installing on this tower. In fact, it is going to get installed on every single tower they have. So 39A will get it. The steel for it for Pad 1's tower is already over by Pad 1. They just got to build it and put it in. And then 37s will get it as well. It looks like it's extra cladding we think it's for ship catches, because when they go to ignite the ship engines, that's going to be somewhat like right over the tower. They don't really want the Raptor exhaust to start frying stuff inside the top of the tower, like any wiring, the chopstick cables, all that kind of other stuff. So they don't really want that to do that. So it's just kind of added protection. And they need to crane that tall in order to lift that all at once rather than piece by piece. The reason why it's still there is because there really isn't anywhere else they can put it without dismantling it. A crane, that is one of the longest booms that they can put on that crane. In fact, like you go to one of our wider shots, like you see the main part of the crane is on the other side of the tower, and the jib is all the way over in the expansion area. They didn't really have anywhere else. You can't even see the end of the jib there. They have nowhere else to really park it. So in fact, what they did is they, from that last view, they put up a couple of concrete barriers with a bunch of dirt behind it, where some of the exhaust will exit out of the trench, and that's to protect the boom. They literally built that up just literally for the crane to help protect it. If there's a RUD, well, there's a RUD. They have insurance. I'll just put it that way.
Let's say that the only boom that we want to see is the crane's boom. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. we don't want to see any
Exactly.
other boom.
Or
But basically, it should be
a-
fine.
I mean, yeah, but also, or a controlled boom in the Raptor's combustion chambers as well.
I prefer just burning stuff.
Yeah,
normally.
burning a boom is not great inside a
In the
combustion
Raptor.
chamber.
But that's what it is, though. It's a continuous boom in the combustion chamber.
If I were Scott Malley, I will say no, but okay, I'll give it. I'll give it to you as approved. No, I'm just joking, but yeah. So because it's technically not a detonation, whatever. But yeah, bottom line is we don't want to see the crane getting damaged. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can hear all of the activity going on at the tank farm over there. And you can definitely see it kicking up here, but still not in that sort of, I guess, the equivalent of the OLM waterfall of amount of stuff coming out of the tank farm. It's hard to explain now that things have changed a bit. But you could also kind of tell about the wind there. It is quite windy. And, hey, Max, can they static fire in the wind? And also,
Yeah, probably.
But along
I mean,
those
to be fair, it's a lot better than what it was this morning. I mean, all the cameras in Starbase were shaking like crazy. Even the ones that were of a wider field of view, like this one, even those were shaking a bit, and very noticeably so. But since the weather has seemed to have since calmed down, the clouds seem to be clearing the area, which is nice. Although it is still a little bit breezy, and we were watching because the road closure today opened up at 8 a.m. local time in South Texas, which is also in Central time here in the U.S. So, and by that point, the chopsticks were still holding on to the booster quite firmly, and the winds were howling pretty good. I think Gage was reporting that in Port Isabel, which is just to the north of the launch site, kind of parallel to South Padre Island. I think somewhere in the realm of like 60-mile-an-hour winds gusting, which is really intense, especially when you're not in an actual in an actual tropical storm, which is what those wind speeds are actually rated as. And of course, at that point, with those winds gusting, certainly at those higher levels that the Super Heavy booster is at, your main concern at that point becomes making sure that the booster is stable, and when you have the chopstick still holding onto it, it can't really go anywhere. And of course, whenever they do testing of the sort, whether it be cryo tests or static fires, the chopsticks are not holding on to the booster. And of course, we saw that over at Pad 1, and that has so far been the case over at Pad 2. So they were holding on for a lot longer than we had thought, but I think that was just to shield or help support the booster in high winds. Those, of course, have obviously since cleared, and the chopsticks have been moved, and they are about to commence with propellant load operations here, hopefully in the next maybe 15-20 minutes. We'll wait and find out.
So then, how are they keeping it on the pad right now? Because obviously they were firmly grasping it, as SpongeBob would say, or Patrick.
Firmly grasp it.
Yeah. So how are they doing that now then, with there still being some decent wind?
Yeah, so essentially on the very bottom of the booster in the actual launch mount ring, you have 20 hold down clamps, which are actually physically holding onto the base of the booster, keeping it in place. And you also have the 2 connection points between both booster quick disconnects for both LOX and methane as well. So you have all of those points of connection holding on to the booster, but it's primarily all of those hold down clamps in the actual launch mount itself. Over at Pad 1, those were holding on. But those were of a much different design, and each outer outer Raptor on the outer ring of 20 Raptors on the version 1 and version 2 boosters had their own umbilicals, so the actual clamps there were built and designed a bit differently than they have been on Pad 2, but that was not a system that was able to support a rapid launch cadence like Pad 2's design is hopefully going to allow it to do.
Thank God
So, yeah.
those are gone.
I know it was that pad. So Pad 1 essentially took weeks, if not months, of refurb time in between flights to get it ready for a vehicle to come back to the pad. For Pad 2, it is aimed to be far less than that. Ideally, weeks, like very few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks.
To give an example, every few launches on that pad, they had to take the hold down arms out and swap out bearings and linkages. They had to like swap out the linkages every few launches for the hold down arms, which that's not rapid cadence whatsoever. And when they went to cut up that launch ring, and by the way, those subcoolers look like they're starting to kick up, so we could be nearing prop load. When they started to cut up that launch ring, we saw how charred the inside of the ring was. Like I can only imagine how much exhaust gases were getting inside the launch ring and frying things on the inside. So just imagine the electronics, hydraulics, everything you had to replace every time. Anytime you wanted to do any engine testing on the booster, you had to hook up engine chill hoses. Oh God, it's so bad in so many ways.
That brings me to wonder here, like, are they gonna see something with the service structure there on the right hand side of the OLM, where like that first launch from here from Pad 2, it's gonna be when they're gonna be realizing, ooh, did we actually fully weld everything perfectly, and no gases leaking into, blowing the whole thing. Like, I don't know. It feels to me that it is much more well built, right, compared to the way that it was built for Pad 1, but also on the first launch, they might find out how that'll hold up to those forces, right? And so it's gonna be interesting. I mean, same thing can be said with other rockets that are even more quote unquote well trusted. SLS, right? Remember, it also broke quite a few of the pad systems. And it did not go that well for some of those pad systems, from elevator shaft doors to AC units and systems and things like that on the tower. Like, it blew a bunch of things off.
Alex,
so who knows? Yes?
The methane reclaim vent, the new Pope vent, has shut off.
This one, right?
Yeah, that one. We definitely could be into prop load here, so we should watch for Frost to show up, which is a little bit quicker than even the last 3 tests. So we'll have to watch here for Frost to show up. We'll see a little bit of condensation on the LOX tank, and then Frost will be right behind it because of how quickly they load this thing. But as talking about, oh man, I lost my train of thought as I literally interrupted to say that. Dang it.
People are saying Frost in chat, not yet, but we are looking for it, right? Like,
it'll be pretty obvious.
Should be shortly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Alex, kind of for those just joining in as we pass the top of the hour here, what are we expecting and what should we be looking for coming up now?
Well, if they are now into propellant load, it starts first at the bottom, so there's like a good ring, if not ring and a half below this, right? And as soon as it sort of elevates that level above that point, then we'll start seeing sort of first like fumes, bit of whips of vapor, and then the actual frost line appearing. And it goes fast, like it really looks like a time lapse, especially this sort of zoom into the vehicle. I don't think we could zoom in that much more because it's already quite windy today, so it will probably look even more jittery. But yeah, with this zoomed in view, it really looks like it's a time lapse. It is not. It's actually real time. Just saying. So whenever it starts, it's gonna be quite fast. Now we don't know exactly if they are right now, but all indications, because of the tank farm activity, point to perhaps it already underway. But again, it takes a while until that frost level actually raises up to the point of being visible in this view. Again, there's a big not a huge part of the booster, but there's a couple of rings, maybe a ring and a half below the launch mount deck, because it sort of goes in a little, and so because of that, we don't see it right away. But just wait a little bit more and we'll see it.
Yeah. So I actually remember what I was going to mention, and we're talking about how Pad 1 had all the singes inside. My expectation, and I was talking with a few other people about this, is when they go to launch this, what will happen is as soon as the booster QDs disconnect, and as soon as it starts to lift off and the arms retract and the hood's all closed down, and basically it seals the launch mount, basically. The only thing that's open on the launch mount are those vents on the side of the service structure. That's it. Everything else is sealed. Then the system basically puts a positive pressure of nitrogen in, and I would not be shocked if there's 2 vents around the LOX QD. There's one main vent that's close to the methane QD, and then there's like 2 other vents on the side, and then the 2 big ones right next to the doors, the big vault doors. Basically, I expect
Hang on, you mean the ones
out of it.
There's like one here, right?
Yeah, there's one there.
Yeah, and then there's another one on the other side as well.
Yeah, and I expect all those vents to just get purged out with nitrogen just as it's lifting off, and then the system is basically safe. Basically, you put a positive pressure of a nitrogen there's one of them, and then you can kind of see the tip of the other one that's painted in gray. That's the methane one that's right down there. I expect all those to just get purged as soon as it lifts off, so then it's almost a pure nitrogen atmosphere inside that service structure. So you don't have any ignitions, no fire, no nothing. It's an inert atmosphere in there, and then as soon as it's up and out of the way, they can open it up and recycle and get the atmosphere back to where it's safe for people to go into, which is not that hard to do. But that's my expectation, is what they're going to do.
And of course, hopefully today we see that potential static fire. All of the signs are there. The areas around the base of the pad there have been cleared out. And we've seen spin prime. We've seen an igniter test. So basically the only thing left, hopefully, is to see any or all of the 10 currently installed engines light up. Let me continue to thank some people here, and then we'll continue taking more of your questions, tagging at NSF. Thomas Kahn, if they static fire, can't wait to see what SpaceX posts on X to see what new cameras they have on the mount. Oh yeah, and I'm sure all of our accounts will be reposting those too once they get posted by SpaceX. So definitely check that out on the socials. And by the way, if you like multiple views, don't forget we have our member multi-view currently live. So any member level of support will get access to all the different camera views that we have out there currently for today's testing. You should totally go check it out if you are a member. Go ahead, Alex.
I was going to mention, I don't know if we can go back to the other view, because I was saying there's 4 cameras that stick out from the bottom here. So you see one there and one there. You can almost see there we go. You can even see one of the lights on one of those, and there are another 2 sort of perpendicular to these, one on sort of sign. Each side of the. Yeah, exactly. It's like a cross, and so there are 4 cameras, and these can retract. Like these can go up into the mount, so they only deploy when they are needed, and so they have cameras with lights inside those tubes there that stick down from the launch mount. And again, there's 2 on each side of the flame trench, and then there's another 2 sort of, as Ryan said, sort of in a plus sign sort of thing on the other 2 sides next to the walls. So I'm really looking forward to whatever footage they capture of these tests with those cameras.
The liftoff footage we got from Pad 1, just imagine that, but from those 4 cameras, or anything inside the launch ring, because I bet they have more in there. So I can't wait to see those camera angles. I hope
won't see
SpaceX
the lines ripping away from all the engines because they got rid of that.
Yeah, if they do get that static fire done today, all 10 engines, I really, really, really hope SpaceX does not take too long to post anything of it. Yeah. I really hope they do it today.
I think
seriously.
I think just footage from this pad in general is going to be absolutely ripping. I mean, honestly, it's going to be some of the best footage we've ever seen, and amongst the most dramatic as well, because all of the exhaust that we're used to seeing dispersed in all directions from Pad 1 is being concentrated into one smaller area and in only two directions of exit as well. So it's going to look incredibly intense and raw, and I think just it's going to be like one of the craziest things we've ever seen. And I think we've already become. It's a shame that we were kind of, that oh my gosh, that we were kind of jaded to how Pad 1 looked and how insane that looked, but Pad 2 is going to be maybe.
Oh, we got vapors, so they're loading.
Yeah, I saw the vapors and I was like,
oh
there
yes,
we go.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, they're loading.
Yeah,
That's
over
about,
here.
They should have about a ring, almost a ring filled, or at least most of the engine plumbing is covered in locks at this point.
It'll come into frame shortly.
So in about 30 minutes, we should have a fully fueled Booster 19, which is still mind-boggling to me.
So at this rate, it's T0 of about 140, 142, 143. It's in that kind of range. I would say. I'd say we should, if everything goes well, we should have a static fire by 143, 144. It's hard to predict because we haven't seen a static fire on this pad yet, so just kind of watch for it in that 140 to 145 range, I guess. I'll give it a 5-minute range.
We'll see, and we'll see if they end up holding there for a couple of minutes. We don't know. So let me go through the support here so that we can keep all eyes on the booster here. Negative Ascent saying it's cold as heck here in Kansas. SpaceX light this fire and warm my nerd heart. I like that. Kevin Gibbs, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Christopher becoming a Pad Rat member. Addicted to Space becoming a Red Team member. And then RC Horseman, always love when you help out here, both at NSF and with the support, with the 20 gifted Red Team memberships. Turtle Sanctuary with 10 gifted Red Team memberships. Goodness gracious. Hopefully you guys get to enjoy that members multi-view and the other perks that come with it. Turtle Sanctuary becoming a Red Team member. Also going and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Turtle Sanctuary also with a $10 ship. Goodness gracious, Turtle. Thank you. Saying Ship 39, thank you. DJ, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And then DJ Cone, different DJ, becoming a Capcom member, which Capcom and above gets access to the NSF Discord in addition to all the perks. So hopefully we will see you in there chatting with us. Then we have Zelius becoming a Pad Rat member. Bideford, great to see you. Saying, okay, I'm missed by a day yesterday, but here we go today. Correct, Sawyer, Alex, Max, Ryan, and anyone else I missed. Perfection static fire, please, today. And then Sailing also saying, I think they'll static fire today because they removed the cones and the safety tape, as yesterday they had them blocking the flame bucket, which is what we were just talking about earlier. And everything compute, wondering how important do you guys think it is for version 3 to work and deliver payloads to orbit? What is the capacity they're going for? V1, V2 was bad. So, yeah, this one is super, super critical.
I mean, version 3 is aiming to be the first operational variant of Starship commercially, and I guess it's just privately for SpaceX as well. The company is aiming to first launch, the first operational and useful payload aboard Starship is going to be Starship version 3 or Starlink version 3 satellites. Hopefully at some point, maybe come summertime if they can get the vehicle proven by then. But of course, the NASA's HLS or Human Landing System is also based off of the version 3 design as well. And version 3 should be sticking around for maybe 3 or 4 years, depending on how version 4 comes along in design and practice as well. So it's very important. SpaceX, in short, cannot afford to have the issues that they had with the start of version 2's life last year. So it's incredibly important.
Also incredibly important is in just those last couple of minutes already, the rings continuing to grow here on the Frost line. That is amazing.
And about 90 seconds per ring, give or take.
And so
to load, which it's just nuts. Yeah.
And so, as we continue to see the frost climbing here, we are getting that much closer to a potential static fire test. Ryan, are they loading just the LOX, the methane yet? Where are they at?
Well, they're loading the LOX, and they're likely loading the methane in the transfer tube. The reason why you don't see methane frost as early as you would on, say, a block 1/2 boosters, because, well, they have a gigantic transfer tube that's 3 meters wide in there. So they got to fill that up along with it, and they usually the LOX is about almost 2/3 of the way done until you see any frost on the methane, or a little over halfway done before you see any frost on the methane tank. But that doesn't mean they're not loading it. It means it's just there's a lot more LOX to load than there is methane, so they kind of slow it down a little bit for these kind of tests. And yeah, that's basically what they do.
And the other thing to note is that the methane does have a little bit of a different trajectory to go through given the giant transfer tube in the middle, right, Max?
Should I try and
Yeah.
draw it?
Oh,
Try.
Go ahead and try. Yeah. So essentially,
Dear Lord.
a critical part of the version 3 booster's design is the expanded size of the methane transfer tube that carries methane, of course, from the tank itself on top and then down to the thrust puck on the bottom to feed methane fuel to all 33 Raptor engines. It is much bigger in size than compared to that of version 1 and version 2. And by bigger in size, it is roughly comparable or almost comparable to that of a Falcon 9 rocket. So before we ever see frost on the actual methane tank itself, that transfer tube alone, I think, holds around 13% around the total load of methane aboard the vehicle. So they have to fill that all the way before they even get to the actual main tank itself. So that should also be underway. But of course, because that is narrower, that should fill up a lot quicker, and we should be seeing methane hopefully in about. I think we should begin to see methane or frost on the methane tank when the LOX tank is about halfway full. That is usually around when we see that, which is hopefully not too far away.
It's about 20 minutes after we start seeing frost on the frost/condensation on the LOX tank is usually when we start seeing it on the methane tank. So that means they're about 4/6 done with the LOX tank at that point. If you want to do fractions there.
And for the record, the reason why the drawing was so bad was because I cannot like put my full hand on my iPad, because otherwise I also draw with my palm of the hand, so that's why it was that bad. But I will say I'm gonna ping Ryan Caden and make us some overlays for the launch stream, or at the very least, if there's any more testing streams and full stack testing and all that, I'm probably gonna be calling up and see if we can get some fancy overlays. Not need for Alex art.
So obviously you could tell by the frost that what's going in is cold, and it is very cold. I know for Falcon 9 they super chill the propellant. Alex, first off, I want to see how many rings of prop they load in one Alex answer. But how they're wondering how cold,
the camera.
They're wondering how cold is the fuel going into the booster, and is it super chilled like we see with Falcon 9?
Yeah, so for the liquid oxygen, it's a lot easier because it's probably about the same as Falcon 9, which is roughly minus 200 degrees Celsius. For the methane, I'm not aware what kind of temperature, because I don't think they have explicitly set that number, but it's probably another 10, 15, maybe 20 degrees colder than boiling temperature for liquid methane. Yeah, that's usually what you get with the subcooling. Technically, you could get us down as like liquid nitrogen, like certain types of cold liquid nitrogen. It will be going too deep into physics stuff, but that's essentially like you could, in theory, even I think solidify methane with the subcooling of liquid nitrogen, but it takes a lot more energy out of that to do that. But yeah, they can go very cold with that at the very least. If you want to go colder, you have to use another kind of inert gas, sort of like helium or things like that. But yeah, for example, if you were to, going a little bit more off the rails, I guess, but if you were to do that with liquid hydrogen, you will also need things like helium subcooling, for example.
And I think we went up at least a ring and a half, if not 2 rings in that answer. So that was perfect. Ryan, Lepo is wondering, for a static fire, do they retract the BQDs?
I doubt they would retract those. They'll probably do a booster quick disconnect retraction test at some point. I don't know if they'll do it this round of testing. They may do it the next round of testing, or maybe with a full stack. But they're not going to do that for a static fire. They want to be able to, especially after lighting the engines for the first time in this mount, they're going to want to have full connection to this booster to make sure they got to do anything to it. So.
Yeah, that is fair. But by the way, for those who don't know, the BQD, that is the Booster Quick Disconnect, which, as you can tell by the name, on launch is meant to disconnect quickly after finishing all of the load that it needs onto the vehicle. And then inside that little kind of protective area that will retract, and then there's a little protective hood that slams down in front of it to protect the infrastructure there. So that is what we mean by the BQDs. Unknown Identity wondering, what is the flow rate of loading the fuels? I'm sure you've got size, time, you have the answer for that. I mean, we've been trying to calculate it, and it is indeed quite fast. So compared to what we've seen for versions 1 and 2, they were a lot slower. But I believe, Max, this is something that's being discussed in the upcoming Starship update too, which will be out later today, I believe, of just how fast this load is.
Yeah, that also, but we have also talked about it in previous streams last week, especially when we saw just how fast that they were able to fill the booster to the levels that they wanted. So for static fires, normally they would fill the LOX tank on the booster up all the way, and then just fill the methane tank up with just enough for what they needed to avoid the risk of any sort of unwanted combustion in a worst case scenario. So it's also used as a weight ballast to reduce wear on the actual hold down clamps on the launch mount, because they're not exactly, or at least over on pad 1, they weren't exactly designed to hold the booster in place for a prolonged period of time. Whereas on pad 2, that may be different, but it still is a lot less work for those hold down clamps to do if the booster is heavier when the thrust of the Raptors is introduced. So I know, very long answer here, but they will fill the LOX tank here up almost all the way, and then they will fill the methane tank up maybe 2.5 rings, I think is what we counted last time. So in total, I think we're talking in the neighborhood of about 3,000 to 3,500 tons of propellant on the vehicle, which is loaded in about 30 to 32 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark, which averages out somewhere in the realm of 200 to 300 gallons per second. Per second. Like, that's not per minute, that's per second.
What's a gallon?
What?
What's a gallon?
What's a gallon?
Yeah.
U.S. gallon. So four quarts, eight pints, right? I think I can't remember. But it's a lot. I mean, that's, I think in liters, that's around 750 liters minimum. That is at the 200 gallons per second marker there. So yeah, it's anywhere from 200 to 300 gallons per second, or about 700, or at least 750 liters per second of fuel being flowed into the booster per second. So an incredibly high flow rate, and the likes of which that we really have never seen before with any launch vehicle at all. Like, that is up there with some of the flow rates for actual engines on rockets, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I know people don't know exactly, gallon conversions all the time, but just for comparison, the average amount of gasoline/petrol rate that's used to load up your car is about 10 gallons a minute. And this is between 12 to 18,000 gallons a minute.
The reason why I said that is not even because of European metric versus imperial, is because loading rates in gallons is quite a horrible thing for rockets, and I'll tell you what. Because there's no gallons in things like the rocket equation. It's mass. It's not volume that matters. It's the mass that goes through. And I can tell you it's over 1.5 metric tons of liquid oxygen that is being loaded every single second to that booster. So,
And
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
and at this point, by the way, we've been loading, I believe, for about 15-ish minutes, so we should be about halfway filled with propellant for the testing today if they continue to load to the amount that we've seen the last couple of tests. And it's worth noting as well, Ryan, that this isn't a fully fueled booster when they do the testing, right? They don't load all the LOX and all of the methane in every single tank, right?
Well, they basically load locks to the max, because it acts as ballast to weigh it down, as we talked about. In terms of methane, they only load what they need. So they want to fill up the transfer tube and then put a little bit in the tank itself. There's no need to fill the methane tank all the way up. That just creates an extra explosion hazard should something happen. There's just no need to do it. They've never done that before. Booster and ship, when they do static fires, they only load the methane that they need to plus extra, so that it's probably like double what they need or more. Is probably what they load onto the booster, or even for that matter, more than that. But LOX they always fill all the way up because it's just liquid oxygen. All it does is add a ballast. It's not that is not combustible in and of itself. It makes things more combustible, or more likely to catch on fire, is the better way to put it.
Yeah, we've seen what happens when you have larger loads and things don't go well. So, better safe than sorry.
Really? You know that?
Yeah, I don't know, Matt. You and I would have no idea as to why, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Ethereal Swordsman coming into the question here with the super chat saying, with all the missing engines, Alex, is exhaust recirculation back up into the engine bay a worry here? A situation where 33 engines would be safe, but this smaller count might damage the vehicle.
It's still quite fast. It's still quite a lot of thrust out of that, and you also have the pressure from like the water deluge coming out of the flame trench, and everything sort of pushing it out, right? I don't think it will be such a big deal. And there's also the DSS as well, the detonation suppression system, which sort of tries to mitigate some of that. The whole methane oxygen interaction in free air, right? Because you only want the methane and oxygen to combust in the combustion chamber of those Raptor engines. When they are outside, well, just on the actual on the actual exhaust, right? Like you don't want it to go up or anything like that. You just want it to go out through the flame trench. And I think with this 10 engine static fire, if they do it, then they will be able to at least see what sort of the whole geometry of the thing, right? Of how those exhausts flow out of the flame trench. Remember, there's like two sides of the flame trench, right? It's not just one, but also there's another one. I think, Ryan, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, at least a few of the engines are right over the ridge, right? And then there's like a few that are a bit on both sides, right?
There are no engines on this booster that are right on top of the ridge.
Okay.
There are some that they specifically moved the engines around. So when they reclocked the center engines and they reclocked the inner ring of 10, so that not one single engine would be right on top of the ridge. It was always a little bit off to the side. It'll help with the refurbishment of the ridge and also its lifespan. So yeah, but they're definitely, the way they set up the engines here is they have a few that are kind of hitting right on the right side of the ridge. They have a few that are hitting just in the initial part of the bucket, and some that are hitting a little bit on the outer side of the bucket. So the layout is not random. It's specific to help test not only different plumbing on the booster, because you have centers, inner ring of 10 and outer ring of 20. You also can test different parts of the deluge. So if they run this for max power for a little bit, they can actually get a lot of nice data on the pressure systems for the deluge, the mount itself, and not only the booster. So I wouldn't be surprised at a longer duration or a higher power run today.
I was gonna point out where the ridge cap is. Because one of the things of these flame trenches is that you can actually see the ridge cap. It's sort of this structure here that you can sort of see there. Like that's the really topmost part of that diverter on the flame trench.
There's the little piece that you see go up and go up a little bit on that ridge cap are literally those are cap covers.
Yeah.
There's one on each side. They basically protect the inlets, the inlet to the ridge, which runs straight through the flame trench wall.
Because it should be like this, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but it basically runs in and then runs down and hooks into the ridge, and then just about everything in that trench is sealed. So there's no exposed concrete. It's pretty much all stainless steel. Exposed stainless is really all it is. There's some carbon steel that's painted and exposed. Like anything you see painted on this mount, whether it's the hoods or whatever, that's usually carbon steel. Anything that has that silver color to it, that's basically stainless. So there's like two different types of steel in here, but the choices in location make a difference. And looks like we got some methane frost starting to form right on time. Right on schedule.
We go.
And I will say this, if you really want a really, really in-depth explanation on what steel goes where and everything, it's going to be, again, you'll have to watch Zach's. He's got a 3-part video on going way into depth on this launch mount and why they designed the way they did. It's incredibly informative. Waiting for part 2 to come out.
Speaking of waiting, for those people who are just joining in now as we reach 1:30 Central Time here, we are currently seeing propellant load here on Booster 19 out at Pad 2 in Starbase. So you can see there that is some ventiness happening, so that is frost beginning on the methane tank. We've already seen the liquid oxygen tanks getting quite frosty and quite full. They started loading propellants just before 1:10 p.m., so a little over 20 minutes ago now. And based off of past experience, that means there's only about 10 minutes left until they are at the load that they are planning for today's testing, which we do not have official confirmation, but all signs are pointing towards this being a potential static fire. They've cleared out the areas around the launch pad and around that flame trench that we were just looking at there. They're loading up the propellants, and this follows 2 previous tests, one that was a spin prime and one that was an igniter test. And of course, all of that following just a generic tanking test before all of that. So for those just joining, that is where we are at right now. We are potentially 10 minutes away from the first ever static fire of a V3 booster and the first static fire on the brand new Pad 2 in Starbase. If that is not exciting, I don't know what else is, folks.
Oh boy, heart is racing already.
I was just going to say, my heart rate is going up like a lot now, especially the more frost we see on the vehicle, and just hearing the fact that we may be as soon as, if not just under 10 minutes now from the first ever fire here, and finally christening Pad 2. My heart rate is certainly going up a bit now.
Chat, how's your excitement right now? I mean, we've got so many of you in right now, 13,000 people, so obviously the excitement is finally back. Here's one from Resistojet wondering what happens on the Raptor 3 engine just prior to the igniters. So what will be happening to those engines before they do a static fire, if they do static fire today? Ryan, you want to take that one?
Well, basically, so the igniters, I'm pretty sure the igniters on this are only in the pre-burner still. I don't know if they switched back to the MCC. I kind of doubt they did. Because the environment that they could have, it kind of auto-ignites in the MCC anyways. The MCC, by the way, is the main combustion chamber. Basically, what they do in the Raptor engine is they flow LOX and LCH4 through to chill it down, because you don't want to shock cool it when you flow tons of liquid propellant through it. So they chill it down. And then once you get closer to ignition, what they'll do is they will use, they use nitrogen at this point to basically initiate the spin up of both pumps, Alongside that, they will use the igniters to ignite the pre-burners under both pumps, both the LOX and LCH4 pumps. So those will start up and be self-sustaining, which will then be able to spin the pumps even more. In the process, they open up the main fuel valves. So they open up the LCH4 valve and the LOX valve, which then they flow a lot of liquid oxygen and liquid methane through both turbo pumps into the MCC, which auto ignites due to the environment it's created in, the high pressure, temperature, and everything environment. And then you basically reach an idle run on the Raptor, and then you increase the throttle by increasing the pump RPMs by putting more and more. You increase the pressure of the main combustion chamber, as well as increasing the flow rate into the engine, and then you spin up until you get up to 100% throttle. We don't know how high they're going today in terms of throttle setting, but that's a very, very abridged version of what happens. And all that happens in what, Alex? Like less than a second?
Less than a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
We had a Raptor video that we released, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And there are already a few things that are outdated because we've learned more things now about, some of the differences, especially with Raptor 3. Ooh, look at that. Look at the grid fin. The shadow on the methane tank. That's so cool.
That looks cool.
Oh, love that Griffin shape there.
We were looking at a very dreary kind of test today with cloudy skies and windy, and all of a sudden it's like a cold front went through and it's deep blue. What this sky reminds me of?
What?
SN8.
Yeah.
Remember that deep blue sky on that test? The first ever high altitude hop at Starbase.
We don't want the same result.
I mean, considering that was the first ever high altitude hop of that thing was pretty dang successful. I mean, granted the ending wasn't, but boy, it got a lot farther than anyone ever thought it would.
That is very true. But yes, we don't want to see any type of RUD of any kind today. That is for sure.
I was going to say, because it's ironic that the weather is sort of like SN8-like day when we are close to 5 years from SN11, and the weather was horrible that day with the fog and everything.
Yeah, SN11 was the 30th of March. So
yeah, about 14 days from that. 2 weeks.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And again, you could see that venting there. Max, that venting is totally normal, right?
Yep, that's all about just maintaining tank pressures for both the LOX and the methane tanks, because of course, as propellant flows in, they have to vent out any gas that was in there that the fluids are now replacing in terms of the volumetric space in the actual tanks. So completely normal. It happens occasionally, especially as the tanks get more full, and then of course the tanks have to come up to proper pressurization afterwards once they are full. So any venting that we are seeing of these sorts now from both the LOX and the methane tanks are all completely normal. And it'll be pretty obvious once the test is over and they begin to depressurize the tanks, hopefully after whatever we see here in the next few minutes. But yep, so it's totally normal.
Still love that reflection of the grid fin. Reminds me a whole bunch of the new photos that just went up over at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. If you haven't seen the new metal prints and posters, we've got some great shots in there now of those grid fins on V3. I gotta admit, it's definitely growing on me, the 3 grid fin design. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
It's definitely growing on me. It's probably growing on all of us.
Yeah.
Honestly. But by the way,
yes,
we are. It is 2 days ago was the second anniversary of Flight 3. I don't know. Since we started talking about SN11, I'm like, were we? Oh yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
So at this point, Alex, we should be. It's been about 30 minutes since we first saw Frost, so they should be close to, if not fully fueled here. So what's coming up next?
I was gonna say pumps stopping, but I just heard them stop. Because that whining noise sort of thing that we were hearing, that was the pumps. Now we no longer hear them, and so that means propellant load should have finished. Next
Yeah,
in, go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say, and the subcooler vents have really died down, so that kind of tells
Yeah.
you they're not subcooling prop anymore.
And then we should be seeing shortly some of the purge vents from the OLM. They're not coming right from the structure here. It's actually somewhat downrange, if you will, somewhere around here, because there's like pipes that sort of lead. Ah, there we go.
There's
Look
the
at that.
LOX one.
Look at that. See?
That's LOX drain.
There we go. So, yeah, as they keep purging the OLM, we should see at some point the detonation suppression system, that sort of mist of water underneath the launch mount. And if they are going for a static fire or anything like that, we should see perhaps the deluge activate as well. So, all eyes on that flame trench.
My
Yeah,
heart
it-
is going so fast right now. Just
So,
waiting.
yeah, the DSS kind of comes from the top of the launch pad, it appears like, and then the main
Yeah,
deluge
like
system
that.
kind of goes
Oh,
goes upward from the
works.
base.
That worked for both views. It was amazing.
Yes, but then the water, it's like an upside down shower head, except a lot more water coming up, and then that would be followed hopefully by the ignition. So at this point, all eyes are now on the base of the vehicle. It could be any moment now that we see a static fire here of Booster 19, the first V3 booster to static fire, the first Raptor 3 engines to fire while attached to a booster, and the first one here at brand new Pad 2 in Starbase.
Methane drains going too. Right. Oh,
There we
DSS,
go.
There
here
we go. That's the DSS. Next would be the deluge, and then we'll let you listen in.
that
was a
was
lot shorter
kinda
than expected.
quick. That was
Yeah.
quick. That was like a few seconds, not even.
Yeah.
But it looks like we had some form of ignition there. But I gotta say, to see the coming out both sides of the diverter there is pretty awesome.
I kind of have to say, and I don't want to be, breathing any bad juju into this, but that felt kind of like an abort of sorts, just based on how short that burn was.
Yeah, and especially
Yeah.
as a depress vent like right after.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that could have been an abort. We'll have to wait
Still-
and see though.
Yeah, you still
to
see the
tell.
venting there. And a reminder, by the way, there is a closure window for this, right? So they still have time, Ryan, if they needed to or wanted to try again.
Yeah, they could. I don't. They could hold in for a little bit and then maybe try to go again with the current load, but you wouldn't really have that much time to be able to do that. In order to really go again, they'd have to fully detank and then retank the whole thing, which would take a few hours to do that.
And for the record, because I'm already seeing some people confused, like, what type of test was that? That was a static fire.
Yeah.
Okay, there was visible thrust, fire, and all the things, right? It was not a spin prime or anything like that. It was visibly a static fire test, right? But as we were mentioning, it did seem quite short, and the fact that there was a depress vent right as it ended, yeah.
But stay tuned, because we are going to have replays. So if you stick with us, we have a whole bunch of replays that we're working on pulling right now, so we'll all be able to watch it and analyze it all together. So stick around while we continue to wait for those. But yeah, regardless of how long that was, whether it was supposed to be short, whether it was supposed to be long, that was absolutely a static fire, and that was the first time we've seen that. And I think the most important thing to say after all of that is look on the screen. The booster's still there. The
Yeah.
pad is still there, and they're all in one piece.
That is why there are systems in place that, if something doesn't look okay, they can just shut down the engines quickly and say, okay, we're not doing the whole thing, right? Like, if we're talking about if it was some sort of abort, then it will also be a test of the safety systems, because again, that's all of the things that they have tried to design into this system in order to be avoiding certain past mistakes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that is a good point. So yeah, we'll get those replays pulled. It does take a little bit, but we're working on it, so stick around and stay tuned. Really quickly, I do need to thank some people here, including Russell Snodgrass with a $100 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. And they came in asking, is there a specific shutdown sequence for a Raptor similar to a startup? So obviously we saw the shutdown there, but is there a similar sequence for that, Alex?
Well, there must be. I'm not sure what exactly, because there are probably multiple things that can produce a shutdown on the Raptor engine. For example, just closing the pre-valves to the engine sort of starves the engine in the first place, right? Will probably not be the best idea, because you will have essentially the pumps sucking in nothing, basically. But there are multiple ways that you can stop the engine by closing certain valves or stopping certain processes and things like that. Again, one of the probably more brute force and more simplistic ways of shutting down the engine will be just to close the inlet valves, essentially the pre-valves to the engine, to close off the fluids, right, from going into the engine. Another way could be, for example, also doing the same, but before after the pumps, actually, not before. There are different parts on the engines where there are valves that you can close, or like the throttle settings and things like that. There are definitely places where you can essentially cut off, and that cuts off the full flow of everything within the engine. So there might be multiple different ways for them to be able to safely shut down the engine.
And again, they were expected to shut down anyway. It's a reminder, this is not a launch today, that's for sure. So, and it seems like those sequences worked at least, because the engines did shut down, and as we've been pointing out, the booster right now, still frosty, still safe, but also, Ryan, we haven't really seen any big depress vents yet, have we?
There was a depress vent. Both tanks vented out right after the engine shut down. I think they depressed and whatnot. I need to see
not like those
if
long
they're
20, 30-second just straight vents that we see sometimes.
No, not like a full-on depress. I'm trying to look here. There's the two big methane tanks that are all the way down by pad 1. There is a methane recondenser for detanking on those tanks, and I do not see it running. Which means I think it doesn't look like they're in the middle of detanking right now. So I think they're holding at the moment. So we will see. We'll see what's going on here, but it does not look like they are detanking. At least not the methane.
That's promising, I think. Huh. We'll have to see. But yeah, again, for those just joining, it looked like we had somewhat of a static fire. There was definitely thrust produced, but it did seem like maybe it was half a second to a second. Definitely appeared as if there was some kind of abort or a hold of some kind after that. Hey Max, you know what doesn't abort or hold? NSF, right?
Oh, gosh, yes. So you're talking about a segue. Yes, we do not. We are full steam ahead 24/7, essentially. And I do have to say, y'all, now is a really, really good time to become a member, because in the next 24 hours, members are going to be learning about something that we have been working on for the past 6 months or so, and it's a really big deal to us, and we have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, and a lot of passion as well. It's going to be teased to our members, and only members will be able to order this or at least until our next big event coming up in Starbase, whether it be ship rolling out or booster rolling back or the next static fire, whatever big event is next. That is when this product will be fully released. But members, for now, for the next 24 hours, are going to get an exclusive preview of what is to come. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I've been looking at this in the back channel for quite a while, and I've been talking to Kevin about this. And this is like really dope. Like this is one of my favorite things I think we've ever done, to be honest. So yeah, I just real quick plug. I know, but like while we have y'all, I just want to say that this is a really good time to become a member because this is like one of the most epic things I think we have ever done, like to this point. So anyway, Sawyer, back to you about aborting static fires, maybe.
No, that's fine. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say it, Kevin. I know what it is.
Don't
I
leak
know.
it.
I'm going to say something here, and it's an unfortunate thing. They are detanking methane.
Well,
Yeah, I see the vent is going now.
Oh yeah, it is.
But stick around, folks. We
If
still
you
have
go
the
to
replay coming up.
Beach One there, Carson, or yeah.
But again, stick around. We do still have the replays coming so we can look and see what happened, folks. So don't go yet. Promise. We still need to look and see what was going on there. By the way,
But either way, it
some
seems like
people
they're
in chat are starting to get some ideas. I don't know. Maybe
I think I
Kevin?
know exactly what happened based off of what I've seen. I was going to wait for replays to say it though.
Yeah, we'll wait for the replays. To Kevin.
And it's something we haven't seen in a long time with with Starship, but we've definitely seen it before.
Kevin, people are starting to kind of have some ideas and throw guesses out there. Do you think maybe we can show it? Come on, Kevin. Chat, you want to know what it is, right?
I've seen some decent guesses in chat, but yeah, I would like to do a little bit of a tease because it is really, really cool.
All right. Maybe if there's the chat excitement for it, we can convince Kevin.
Seeing
Kevin,
a bunch of guesses in chat.
Kevin, you reading chat here? You see this, Kevin? Kevin Michael Reed, by the way. We jokingly call him the voice of God here as one of the producers with his voices. Okay, Kevin says he's reading chat. Again, replays are still pulling, folks, I promise. We're not just trying to drag it out. They are pulling. Our pull system is working on it. We have a lot of cameras. If anyone's watching the members multi-view, you see we have a lot of cameras. So, we're working on it. I promise you that. Wow, Kevin, there's a lot. There's a lot of hype in chat. Goodness gracious. Might be working.
Maybe.
Oh boy. All right. Kevin saying maybe. Kevin saying yes. Oh gosh. Wow, chat is all yeses. Okay. There we go. They are, a couple you guessed. Yes, they are enamel pins, as you see there, or the pins there at least. So, look at those. Those are absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I love it. All the Starship pins. So many Starship pins. Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. So, yeah.
we're linking the patch for the next flight.
Oh, definitely. Oh. Hear that venting.
It would have been funny though if that was also a pin and it was sort of like hidden in the group of pins here.
Yeah.
Just giving an idea to our shop team. Just saying.
Oh, geez. Yeah. But, of course, just I want to go talk about them. The Booster 19's like, wait, let me vent first. But yes, no, Flight 12 is not on it. But I know a lot of people always ask, wait, but the patches are out of stock. Can I ever get it? Yeah, the problem is, no. Once we finish the prints, they're out. So instead we have the pins where you can still get all of them. So if you want the link, the members will get it. So you can join at any membership level and get the link and then be able to order them within the next 24 hours or so here. So stick around, membies. You will get that link coming very soon to get those pins. And goodness gracious, the amount of memberships that just came in because of that, that's awesome. And hopefully you get to enjoy the other perks too. Again, the members multi-view that we had for testing today, and potentially if they end up having to do another static fire test, because, I mean, Max, that definitely seemed very short. Do you think maybe we would see another static fire attempt before they roll it back, or do you think they have enough to roll it back and then try it next with all 33 engines?
You know, I don't know. I don't think we were expecting any sort of like long-ish duration fire. But for a first fire like this, for a pad that's been redesigned like Pad 2 has, that seemed a little bit short to verify the both engines and the pad systems were good. That definitely smelled a lot like an abort of sorts there. We obviously have no way to officially confirm, or we're just an observation based on what we've seen in the past. And especially over at Pad 1, these static fires were anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds normally, and we're nowhere near that short. Granted, we are running with currently a third of the amount of engines almost than what Booster 19 will have for flight. So I guess it really so assuming this was an abort, it really depends on what the issue at hand is, and whether or not that will require them to roll it back or just pull it off the launch mount and put it back on the booster transport stand for any minimal work that they would be able to or need to do over at the launch site. But I think at this point, if they're not able to repair it at the pad, I think that would warrant, obviously, a rollback. And at that point, since it's already in there, I believe they may as well just install the rest of the Raptors and roll it back out to the launch site when they believe it's ready for a full static fire of all 33 engines. But again, I don't know. The fact that they immediately went into detanking the vehicle didn't bode a lot of confidence in there being somewhat of a quick issue to fix here. Because obviously it is a very dynamic environment with a lot of force and temperature, but I don't know. I think we will have to wait and see. And I think we will have a better idea by probably tonight whether or not we see any sort of like road closure transports pop up, or road transport closures pop up. I should say. Good grief.
Speaking of wait and see, by the way, I believe we have replays that we can see now as well.
Oh, we do. Yes.
So let's take a look at the different angles to see what we can see here.
Yeah, that's about not even a second. It's about a second. You can actually tell when the engines ignite. It's clear as day when the engines ignite and instantly when they shut off. It was a startup abort. Almost, I am pretty confident saying that was a startup abort. They tried, I don't know how many engines they tried. I'm going to assume all 10. But as soon as they started them up, it instantly shut off.
And I mean, it's not a surprise. Like, this is the very first time. It would have been a surprise if it had actually worked for whatever amount of time, right? Like, if it had been, I don't know, say, planned for like 6 seconds or something like that, right? Or 10 seconds or whatever. And it had worked for the entirety of the burn, I would have been surprised. I would have been like jaw on the floor sort of thing, right? Like, that would be awesome because it will have been on the first try. This is the first time they fire Raptor 3 engines on a booster. Like, on a vehicle in general. Just like, not even booster or ship or whatever, like, at all on a vehicle. It's the first time it is not on a test stand. And so there's a lot more than just the engine itself, right? It's the part about supplying the engine the things that it needs from the booster. And so that is quite difficult compared to a test stand.
And I do have to say, though,
for a first attempt, I meant.
I have to say that was despite it being like maybe a half a second burst, and even if that was all 10 Raptors firing for even just that short amount of time, that was a pretty big plume on either side. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that was pretty intense for what it was, for how short it was. So I can only imagine all 10 engines firing for either a longer duration or all 33 now at the same time. Like, that was our first glimpse as to how the plume is going to behave coming out of the trench.
So as we watch the replays, how can you tell when the ignition starts and when it stops for people who are also trying to analyze this?
So you can see the flash. So there's the deluge. And we'll wait for the flash. The flash will be startup here shortly. There's flash, there's startup, and shutdown.
Yeah.
You can see the shutdown easier when you've got a view in a view like where you see both exits, because you can literally see the flash and the plume come out of both exits, and then all of a sudden the plume just dies in an instant, and that's when they shut off the engines. It literally is a blink and you'll miss it, but it's ignition and shut off. Yeah, it's quick. It's a startup abort. I don't think they did. I kind of doubt they would have done this intentionally. If they were going to fire the engines, they're going to fire the engines for a duration. They're not going to do a startup abort. They've done startup aborts on Raptors before. They want to get fuel flow data. So.
You can notice the shutdown because there's no more plumes coming out, right? Like the thrust itself of those engines just pushes out the vapor, and so it's like, as soon as the vapor is just not coming out at that same speed, it's clear that there's nothing else pushing it. So of course the engines are already off.
Yeah, again, like we were talking about, most of the static fires that we've seen in the past are, I think the shortest we usually see was about 7 or 8 seconds, and we've seen over at Massey's as long as a minute. But let's get this closer look in here. It definitely seems shorter on the shorter end. But again, who knows? It's SpaceX. You never know what their actual plan is or was.
There's also the matter of like the instant depress of the tanks, right? Let's see, hang on. And there's ignition.
There's flashed, yeah.
And shutdown.
Yeah.
In the words of Daryl.
Oh no.
But yeah, another big clue, and this was actually something that we learned quite a lot during the ship era, you know, when they did the SN tests and things like that. They did a lot of static fires. We already had in mind that, you know, as soon as the fire ends, right? Like as soon as the static fire ends and the ship or booster in this case starts venting right away, that's when you know it's probably an abort. We actually used to measure those tests as in, you know, as soon as the static fire was done, if we didn't see any immediate detanking or immediate depress, excuse me, not detanking, it's different. If it was not venting right away, it meant it was probably successful because it probably ran for the entirety of the burn that they needed, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the past with recent tests of you know, the last few vehicles for flights 10 and 11.
To everyone that's in here, and I'll just kind of say this as a whole, this is a brand new launch pad, a brand new booster with completely new engine plumbing at the bottom of it. Like there is no similarity to the older boosters in this.
Oh, yeah. Let's see this view with you. You can see both ends of the diverter there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And not only that, Raptor 3 has a lot of differences to Raptor 2. It definitely has different igniters on board. They sound way different than Raptor 2's igniters do.
Look at that.
So to say to everyone, they did a lot of testing before this. They got ignition, and they might have gotten ignition on all 10, but with how new this is, I can only imagine how strict the value constraints are on their sensors, whether it's flow sensors, heat sensors, whatever it is. It's probably a very narrow margin, and it was probably an auto abort on startup by the booster itself, and they'll look at the data, they'll see what it is. Maybe it wasn't anything really that bad. Maybe the system was just set a little too tight. That's always a possibility when you're testing something brand new like this. There's a very, very solid chance that they look at the data and they go, okay, maybe it wasn't really that bad. They adjust their values in their software and they go again tomorrow morning. Maybe they do that. That's entirely possible.
It is.
Maybe
I wouldn't be against another test.
Oh, no, I wouldn't either.
If we can get to see this, and even for longer times, yes, please, another one. Let's do it again.
I think, personally, usually with a startup abort, it usually is not anything that serious. Yeah. I would not be surprised if they don't have to take it off the mount and it's a software thing that they just need to adjust. I would not be surprised at all. And they go again tomorrow with a 10 engine, because I think they're going to want to get their 10 engine static fire out of the way before they roll back for 33.
Yeah.
Ryan, that reminds me of SN10. We were talking about, the SN era and how we were sort of around at the same time as SN11. SN10 was also around March, right? Was it March 2021, if I'm not mistaken? So 5 years ago. It's already been more than 5 years. And SN10 had an engine
March 3rd.
shutdown at startup. They recycled and they went again and they launched. Right?
By the way, here's
So
slow
like,
motion of it.
yeah, there we go. And in that
You
case,
see
it
the
was also
puff.
sensors.
Dude, look at how fast it still shot out of the trench.
I cannot wait for this thing to go duration and
Yeah.
then for launch.
And with 33,
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Oh,
reminds
it's
me a
gonna look
lot of the side-on profile of the space shuttle at SRB ignition, and just watching that
cool.
exhaust plume just absolutely shoot ballistically off to the right-hand side of the frame. Like, that's kind of what that looked like, just in terms of the speed and ferocity. The speed and ferocity shooting out of the trench there. Yes, that was the mandatory space shuttle mentioned during the live stream. So happy
was
Chris
gonna
Bergen
say,
noises.
You beat me to it because I was also going to mention shuttle with the engine shutdowns, right? Because that's one of the benefits of liquid engines that you don't have with solids. It's that as soon as the engines ignite, you can shut them down if you detect that something is slightly off during their ignition, right? And we've seen certain shuttle flights where they aborted right before igniting those solids, right after they had ignited the main engines. And that's a thing. We've seen that also with Falcon 9, right? Like, they have these systems in place in order to prevent anything else going wrong. You just don't launch, you just don't keep going if you can avoid it, right? If you can just shut down the engines, stay on the ground, and fix the problem, that's better. So they also have been able to test this. Like, that's another thing that's very important for them, being able to test all of these systems to shut down the engines quickly. You don't want to, you don't want to keep going when the engines is not great. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, mind you as well. The Raptors spool up and fire up like so much faster than the RS-25s did. The RS-25s took the RS-25s take anywhere from 4 to 5 seconds to spool up from first ignition, whereas the Raptors are at basically full thrust in, I think, like 5 or 6 tenths of a second. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, they have a lot less time to catch any issues there. But the onboard computing power aboard Starship and Super Heavy is world class, like the best in the business. So they certainly can catch it, and obviously they did today.
Yep. And by the way, for those wondering, during the shuttle era, I'll go through it. That was called an RSLS abort, a redundant set launch sequencer abort, where if the engines weren't working right or one of them didn't start up right, then they would call the abort on the pad. The most dangerous of those being the first one that happened, which was on the maiden flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery STS-41D, when then there was issues of concern of hydrogen building up around the pad, and they have to do all the extra water deluge tests and all of not deluge tests, but the water going around it. There was one 51F and Challenger, and then there was a couple later in the program. There was a couple in the STS 50s and 60s. So they're getting my chance to flex my shuttle skills there.
Yeah,
by the way,
well, go ahead, Ryan.
Since it's on screen right now, the truck with the trailer right there, that is basically the tool trailer for the mount and service structure team. So they're staged right at the roadblock waiting to go in. I am pretty confident they're going to detank this thing and then go take a look at it. I doubt we're recycling for anything today, but of course we'll wait and see. But the fact that they're sitting there waiting, they're raring to get back and take a look at this thing.
Yep, as is tradition, we stay live until the road is open because it's SpaceX, and you never know what they're going to do, and also it's Starship, so you never know what might happen.
Right.
If it was something software, like you said, Ryan, before, maybe they can go even today. Like it could be like SN10, right? That I mentioned earlier. To be fair, SN10 was in a different era, right? But it there's nothing for them to say no to trying again today if they really have the time and it's just something software related. I've seen mentioned in chat, talking about, you're talking about all of this stuff, and maybe it's just because they're too conservative. And you're completely right. Whoever mentioned that in chat, it's already gone now. But it's true that when you're testing on the ground, you sometimes set very strict limits. And we've seen that even with SLS. Remember the green run test, the first one that they did with those four RS-25 engines?
Yep.
Where it basically aborted within a minute of the test. And it was supposed to be 8 minutes. It didn't get even like 1/8 of the way, right? And that was because they had really strict sort of different limits in their sensors and whatnot for that test in particular. If that had happened during flight, the engines will not have aborted or anything like that. It will have continued to burn, essentially. So same deal with this. Like, they may have seen something, by they I mean the sensors, right? Because there are very strict limits for a very first test. You don't want anything to go really, really off the red lines, as they are called, right? So that, you have a very first, very safe test.
Exactly. But again, as you pointed out, there's a non-zero chance with SpaceX with all of these things. So you don't know.
Yeah.
But that's why we continue to watch, continue to see, and hopefully see more static fire testing soon, TM.
So you're telling me there's a oh wait, wrong booster.
Nice. Never tell me the odds, okay?
But also, there's just under 6 hours left in the window, and in SpaceX time, that's a lot of time. So I wouldn't rule it out completely yet, as unlikely as it may seem to us. But again, we don't know. We'll have to hang out and see.
And while they were not listed as primary closure dates, they still have the 17th and the 18th listed as backup beach closures there. So, and even for the road closure period, the alternate dates were March 16th, 17th, and 18th. And obviously they used today. So that's not to say they can't do it again tomorrow or the day after. In fact, there it is. You can see there's the beach access status on the City of Starbase website. So this might not be the end of the testing of it. And of course, it's SpaceX. That will update any minute, knowing them. You never know. All right, I guess I got to pull a Ryan Caton here, because we are way behind on support that I want to get through here. You ready for a speed run?
Do it.
Do it.
Big Dog, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Johnson, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Ian, becoming a Capcom member. See you in the NSF Discord, which is one of the Capcom and above perks. Survey Rockets becoming a Pad Rat member. Captain Kirsch is becoming a Red Team member. Chris Guarini becoming a Red Team member. Andrew, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Synthetic Spy, Pad Rat member. Also, Zapper Gazer becoming one. And then Alex Anderson becoming one. And then Apocalypse Cowbell. Apocalypse Cowbell Vent, I'll call it now, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And a reminder, all of you that get the membership, besides the member multi-view that we had for today, then the next day or so, keep an eye out for the special secret link to get the new pins that will be available at the shop. And yes, by the way, that is a Starship tile-shaped mounting on the back. If that's not epic, I don't know what else is. I love that. But yeah, that is just for the members. So any level of membership. But yeah, you become a member, you get that. Michael, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Bacon Warrior, Capcom member. Again, we'll see you in the Discord. Zapper Gazer upgrading to Red Team membership. A Oak, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Roger becoming a Pad Rat member. Alex Bergeson also becoming a Capcom member. All of you ping and say hi once you get in there. It'll be cool chatting with everybody. Backcountry Bound becoming a Pad Rat member. Andy also Pad Rat member. But wait, there's more Pad Rat members. Are Excited becoming one. Susas becoming one. Gary K becoming one. Noah Murphy becoming one. We have Rob Shepard getting Red Team level membership. Mirok becoming a Pad Rat member. Shannon Merriam becoming a Red Team member. Greg becoming a Pad Rat member. Rockin79 becoming a Pad Rat member. And now we have some of the questions that we can get to. Whew. Daniel getting a couple items from the shop earlier. Getting the TPS pajama pants and sun shirt. going, what's with the white flappy bits between sections of the chines? Why are there even gaps in the chines? Is it expansion, gas buildup? Alex, you want to try that one? Why do they have the
Yeah.
gaps in the chines?
That's just tape. The gaps are there because they're built in sections. So like the chines are covers that sort of go up the side of the booster, and what's inside is just COPVs, composite overwrapped pressure vessels, basically just sort of aluminum or steel, depends on the type of COPV. Bottles that are just covered in composite, basically very normal in aerospace. And instead of just dangling on the outside, they have these very nice covers that are the chines. And the reason why there's gaps is because the booster is not finished. Like, this is still pre-launch testing, and it's not even the final testing or anything like that. It's just the very first few tests that we're seeing, right? And so in the meantime, they have that tape sort of more or less in between those gaps there that you can see in between the different sections of the chines. And once everything is ready for flight, right before that, they're going to be putting plates on in between those sections to cover them, like actual bolted plates instead of tape. The tape is there because, well, they have to put a little bit of protection, I guess, in the meantime. But this allows them to be able to quickly, if they need to access any of those CPVs, any of those bottles, if they need to access any of the pressurization systems or anything like that, or some of the other delivery systems for those bottles, then they can remove the section without needing to remove any other plates or anything like that, which will be quite annoying. Let's put it that way.
It looks like a strap or
About that.
cable line got disconnected or something. It's just flying around in the wind there. I
That's
don't
what I was
think
just
that should be
wondering, too.
flying around in the wind, but here we are.
Yeah, well, it's a little windy today, so you can definitely see it there.
Yeah, and again, this booster is not in a flight configuration, right? Like, I have to stress that because I know we had some people coming in, especially right after Propellant load started, and they were talking about, oh, the tape, and it's like, yeah, that's there during pre-launch testing. It is not going to be there during launch, and I can assure you that we'll be covering the launch, so I hope you come back and type in chat, oh, Alex was right.
That's why you want them to come back, not because we want more people to actually watch the launch, just so you can
Yeah,
say,
the
"Oh,
launch is
right."
secondary.
That's what we're going to need, is just a chat full of hashtag Alex was right. Let's see. Negative Ascent, is the reason the rocket's width hasn't changed solely because of transportation concerns, or is it also just more effective to stretch it for capacity? Ryan, what do you think?
Well, the rocket. Well, here's the thing: if you change the rocket's width, especially now, look at everything you have to change. Literally everything. Like the Gigabay the Gigabay, the Megabays, the Star Factory, the launch pads, all the transport stands, everything is made for 9 meters. If you switch it to 10, you have to change everything. So you're talking billions of dollars of money to have to switch everything over. And yeah, I do mean billions. I know SpaceX can be pretty efficient with money, but you're talking a complete redesign of all of your infrastructure everywhere in order to do that. So that's why they stretch the tanks vertically for more capacity. Maybe eventually they'll make a new rocket that's wider than 9 meters, but at that point you need new launch pads, new buildings to build it in, new factories, new transport stands, new everything. So that's why you stretch it, because all you need is a taller building or like a taller pad. You don't have to change everything else. Because like if you were to go 10 meters on this booster, even the booster QDs don't work there. You have to move those. Like nothing will work at that point.
I think it also depends on the rocket we're talking about as well, because Starship has different constraints to it than, say, Falcon 9 does. I mean, Falcon 9's diameter was entirely determined on being able to be transported on main roads and highways here in the U.S. and being able to make it through underpass. No, maybe not underpasses, but just being able to fit on normal sized roads because that is transported by truck all the way from Hawthorne and then to McGregor and then back to and then either back to Hawthorne or out here to Florida. So being able to use U.S. roads is what dictates the width of Falcon 9. But that being said, Falcon 9 has grown significantly since it first flew way back in 2010. So it's just a lot more efficient to try and stretch your rocket to fit some more propellant in it than it is to widen it. And Falcon 9 is already pretty much as tall as it can be for as wide as it is. So each rocket has their own priorities in terms of why they are shaped and built the way they are. But Starship isn't a whole class of its own. But everything that is currently there is built around its current 9-meter diameter. And as Ryan was saying, if you want to increase its diameter, literally everything else on the ground has to be rebuilt, and all of the tooling has to be redone. Literally everything has to be redone. So it's just it's far more efficient to just have them stretched. Go ahead, Alex.
So that already made me think, because do you think that Super Heavy has the same constraint as Falcon 9? Think about it. How wide is Highway 4? Or at least was when this program started. Because I remember the first time that they started to... Because originally Starship, back when it was ITS, Interplanetary Transport System, it was supposed to be 12 meters wide. But then Elon said, we're actually downsizing, sort of, making it smaller to 9 meters because it fits in our current facilities. But then Starship, once it started being produced, it was never built in any of their existing facilities. They entirely, created Starbase out of a, patch of dirt, basically. And so why didn't they go back to 12 meters or 18 meters or something like that? And I was wondering, because as soon as you said what you said, Max, they have to launch to transport this vertically. And that means if it's wider, then that means it needs a wider road. And probably meaning, like, it's already quite hitting the limits with a 2-lane road as it is right now. And it's 9 meters in diameter. With the SPMTs, the transporters already overhang, right, on the sides of the road and things like that sometimes. So I really wonder... if they were to go to a wider diameter rocket, say 12, 15, maybe 18 meters wide, will they need to make the factory facilities and everything like even closer to the pad? Or like, I don't know, now that Highway 4 is going to 4 lanes, maybe they have to use the entirety of the 4 lanes instead? Who knows, right? But I think that might also have played a part if you think about it. Just saying.
But also, it's not just Highway 4 either. It's also the roads here at the Kennedy Space Center that may also have to be widened. And they were already just widened to fit the current Starship dimensions for transport either to and from the Turn Basin and from Roberts Road out to Launch Complex 37 and 39A. So like they were already just widened for the current dimensions, and they would have to redo that again if they wanted to widen it. And of course, remember, Florida is going to become Starship's main launch facility in the next 2, 3, 4 years because there's a lot more freedom in terms of where it can fly. So yeah, it's a bigger headache all across the board if you want to widen your rocket as opposed to just stretching it a little bit.
Yeah, and in fact, they are, because there are certain roads, because of course, the Kennedy Space Center, parts of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, all of those were originally built to even transport something as wide as the Saturn V, right, with more than 10 meters in diameter. But there are certain roads that rocket didn't even have to go through, right? And so those are much narrower, so to speak, and even those are getting widened as well, and certain turns as well. We've seen the paperwork already for that because of Starship. And so it's going to be quite interesting if they were to go to a wider rocket, what sort of modifications they will have to do. Not just, we're talking about the tooling and everything, but also transportation as well.
By the way you're talking about new booster, new stand, new transport, these all sound like rejected names by Blue Origin. Anyway, Mr. Fluffy coming in. Hey, nerds, help! I'm curious to help. See how many flights help. We can get help before we start help. to see rust on help on the boosters.
Help!
Help!
Oh my goodness.
Help!
Mac, I'll throw
anyone-
this one
Help!
to you.
it's
Help!
By the way-
Ryan!
help! Max needs a revive.
I need a revive. Someone get me, please.
For those who
Oh,
don't
I didn't
know,
see you. I'm EJ. I didn't see you.
For those who don't know, we did a little gaming after the Flame Trench Friday on EJ's channel, and Max, that became his kind of code word as we were getting to the end of the stream.
I was
He
down
was
to
happy.
lot.
Reference there. Don't worry, Fluffy's okay.
Anytime he died, he went down or anything, he would just constantly scream "help, help" into our ears, and it was like,
Basically.
oh goodness.
And because you guys weren't helping me, were you?
I was support. Anyway, what do you think though? How many flights before we start to see rust on the boosters?
Rust?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that. I don't think.
I
I mean, eventually, but if
mean,
they
there's
protect them well.
There's gonna. I don't think we're gonna see rust on the boosters. I think we're gonna see different wear and tear on the boosters for sure, simply because of the fact of the immense heating that the boosters have to go through coming back through the atmosphere to be caught back at the pad. And we've already seen this through drone imagery for ship during their splashdown and or reentry and splashdown into the Pacific, or the oh my goodness, the Indian Ocean on previous flights. And so that more or less is what boosters are going to look like over time. But of course, not to the same extent because they're not traveling as fast, but they will hopefully be being reused at a much higher cadence than ships are, at least right away. We've already gotten a bit of a sneak preview as to how a flight-proven booster will look at the pad. I mean, we've already seen it twice with Booster 15 and 16, right? No, I'm sorry, Booster 14 and 15. Because those are the only two super heavy boosters to be reflown at this point. And we've already seen certain discoloration or actual coloration around the area of the hot staging ring and also the shines as well, excuse me, because of the immense heating experienced during hot staging and atmospheric reentry. So, rust, I don't think is going to be a thing, but certainly it's going to be of mass coloration, I guess you could also say.
There you go. No help needed on that answer. User wondering, what would the fluid speed be on the BQD in meters per second? I saw someone in chat doing the math earlier, saying that it was approximately 30 meters per second. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that is quite fast to be able to load that much propellant in that short of time.
Yeah, that's alarming, actually.
Dan saying methane tank looks like the blue penguin king atop their frosty throne. I guess. Kinda. Turtle Sanctuary. Hey Ryan, what do you think? Early April Fools?
Early. You mean for the static fire? I don't know. I keep going over the footage again and again and again to try to see if I can tell if this wasn't a board or not. Because I know I said earlier I'm pretty confident it was. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that's telling me it's not. The only thing that kind of casts doubt on that is the fact that after the engine shut off, it did take a couple of seconds for the depress vents to go, and usually in aborts, it's almost instantaneous. Because the system itself basically instantly wants to safe the vehicle to prevent any issues if they do an abort. So there's a chance this wasn't one and this was planned. There's a chance. Because the way the vent went off a couple of seconds after the fact. Also the deluge also didn't go... Deluge also didn't keep going. It kind of ended pretty quick too. So there's a chance. But
also,
we'll see.
So Ryan, are we able to confirm, or Alex, of course, as well, and Sawyer, are we able to confirm if they're still detanking or are they currently holding?
They are.
They're detanking.
They are still
yeah.
detanking?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
you're on the
the
other
frost here is sort of lying to you. It's sort of deceiving because the level of the I wish I had the illustration up right now. The level of the liquid oxygen is probably like even below halfway the chines right now.
Yeah.
From this
It's-
point of view.
Also, we've been seeing the drone getting in there too. Earlier, it was right around the entrance to the flame trench there. So interesting to note. And then again, you could see things on the tank farm there not super active. Bideford saying, okay, my son said you should release the new pins right now. Also, the deluge looks like it was almost an instant deluge shutoff too. Interesting note, because would they have expected the deluge to maybe run longer or to empty out? I don't know, Alex,
the day.
Max,
So, yeah. What I was saying before, the instant deluge shut off. So yeah, what they can basically do is they can just close off the valves for the pressurization and then dump the pressure out. So when they do that, they can. When there's no more pressure behind it, all it'll do is it'll slowly die off. It'll die off pretty quickly. I mean, you don't have constant nitrogen, high pressure backing it or going into the tanks to push the water out. So if they plan on shutting it off or they want to shut it off, all they got to do is shut the valves or for that matter, just turn off the pressurization systems and bleed off what they have. And then that's that. That's what they can do with this new system. They have much more control over it than they had in the past. The other system was they open a valve and a bunch of high pressure gas comes out, and that was that. There was really no setting it to a lower or higher pressure. It was open the valves, that's the pressure you're getting. This they can control it by even activating only some of the burners if they wanted to. Or being able to say open the bleed valve to bleed off some of the pressure as they're pressurizing it. So in theory they could control it if they wanted to, but yeah.
And also in regards to the pins, by the way, that link will be coming out in the next 24 hours for any level of member support. Boy, my mouth is not working today. So you'll be able to get the link to purchase those early. That is a special thank you to our members. And after confirming in the back channel with Chris Bergen, Jinegg wondering, does being an L2 member count? We will make it work so that L2 members will get that as well. For those who don't know, L2, by the way, is the paid section of our online forums. There is a free section and there is a paid section. And in that paid section of the forums, we have some exclusive photos that our people have taken out in the field. We have documentation that hasn't seen the light of day in years, photos going back to all of the historical eras, updates on what's happening in the Starship program from people who know what's going on. You should check all of that out in L2 as well. And you can also get access to that just through shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Brooding Jet saying, I saw the deluge vent on before static fire, but not after. Yeah, again, like we were talking about there with the shutoff, that seems to be the indication there. Ethereal Swordsman saying, they should mix some barium compound into liquid methane, make the flames intentionally green just to scare the nerds. I mean, normally if you see green that isn't T-Teb coming from an engine, that's usually a really bad sign of metals fatiguing that aren't supposed to, right?
That means you're melting copper.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very unhappy Raptor.
Which is a bad day
Worse.
for a Raptor engine.
Not just melting it, you're burning it.
Yeah, you're melting and you're literally burning copper metal if you're seeing green come out of a Raptor. That's a very, very, very bad day for that engine. Yeah.
And you know what, Ryan? You were talking about SN8 earlier. That is a prime example of what engine-rich exhaust looks like after it performs its a flip and burn maneuver to try and land, and then it goes down to one engine, and then the one engine that is still running, the exhaust turns this brilliant bright green. It's the engine just literally eating itself before it just smashes right into the ground. And of course, when the engine is eating itself, with an engine-rich exhaust, it's performing suboptimally, obviously, and not producing enough thrust. And that is why that's part of the reason why it lost a good amount of its control authority and thrust needed to land, and why it smashed into the ground so hard. But yeah, that is a prime example of what engine-rich exhaust looks like.
Yeah, so we don't want to see that there.
Thankfully,
it's
so
no
far
bueno.
with Raptor 3, we've only seen that. Well, I don't think we have even seen that at McGregor. Like, it feels to me that whenever there has been some kind of oopsie with a Raptor 3, it either has gone more orange side of things, right? Or smoke or things like that. But yeah, I cannot recall seeing any sort of green out of those.
Yeah, again, we don't want that. The only time we ever want to see green coming out of an engine is T-Tab on our on the base of Falcon 9 and on stage 2 up there. So, yeah.
And to be fair,
Firefly, right? Firefly uses T-Tab, right?
Other rocket engines do use T-Tab to ignite their engines. It isn't just Falcon 9, but just because we see it doesn't always mean it's good. But also, just because we see it doesn't always mean it's bad. There are certain applications and reasons for times that we have seen it. I think the last time we saw it, actually, I think with Starship, at least here in Starbase, was Flight 9. It was the first reflight of a super heavy booster, and for a brief period of time, maybe 3 or 4 seconds after liftoff, one of the outer ring of 20 Raptors, a single engine went green for like, I don't know, 0.2 of a second. Like, it was very brief, but one of my cameras caught it. You know what? I'm gonna try and pull up that photo now and show you guys what I'm on about.
Right. Again, I was just still talking about generic kind of T-Tab, not specific, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Halo becoming a Pad Rat member, Pasquale becoming a Red Team member, Craig becoming a Red Team member, Christopher becoming a Pad Rat member, and Krishel saying EJ told us to support you.
I just realized.
What?
You know, green exhaust. It's tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, I think. Is it tomorrow?
That was this past weekend.
Was it this past weekend already?
Yeah.
Okay, I got my dates wrong then.
So did someone pinch Starship because it doesn't have any green?
Oh God, you just jinxed it. I swear.
I guess. Oh, people are saying it's tomorrow.
Now. Booster 19 now. Like, what? Hey, watch this. Green exhaust.
See, I was right, Max. It's tomorrow.
Okay, well, it was celebrated this weekend by a bunch of people in the States.
Dang, I'm gonna have to take my green shirt off today and save it for tomorrow. Anyway, Dun Coding was wondering, so is the flame trench now full of water? That's a good question.
Not necessarily.
Well, not for long. They have sump pumps. They have a sump pump on each side, and they basically can pump the water out. I can't remember if it goes through. I can't remember what it goes through to get treated, but I know they can pump it out and either stick it in the retention pond or basically stick it back in a tank, or I might put it through a frac tank to treat it or whatever. But basically, they have sump pump that pumps the water out of the trench.
So it's not fully there, but also I'm sure it's a little bit different once you have all 33 engines firing and it launches. I'm sure that's going to burn away a good amount of it. So at this point now, again, as we see them detanking, for those who don't know, how much of this are they able to reclaim and how much of it kind of goes away, Alex?
It's quite complicated to say because it depends even like from test to test. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it takes a little bit less time. But other than that, it is probably about an hour or so. So we should be coming up now on about an hour from that, right?
Yeah. So, but how much is what I was saying.
Oh, sorry.
It's really
complicated
hard
as well.
Yeah, it's complicated to say how much they're able to recover. It entirely depends on how much, because they use and vent off some, especially because it boils off and they vent it out of the vents.
Yeah.
They can vent out 7 tons of methane per test that they do if they have to. They try to recapture literally every bit of methane you can, but of course you can't get everything. It's hard to. And liquid oxygen, they're a little bit less on that because you can vent out oxygen without really any issues or anything like that. There's no limit on that one. They basically try to detank and recondense and whatnot as much as they can and get it back into the tanks. So it's hard to say how much they're able to do, but they're able to do a decent amount. We'll just put it that way.
I know there's been sometimes like some kind of percentages thrown out every now and then where it's like maybe they lose somewhere around like 15 to 20% to boil off, right? And then also the drain backs are not usually completely perfect. You can think about it, it's a lot easier to fill up a glass than have to pour it without, dropping any sort of fluid out to, like, when you're trying to sort of move water from one glass to another, right? Or from one mug or something like that. There's always a little bit that it's quite complicated to fully get in without actually dripping overboard, right? Or something like that. I know it's a very bad analogy because it's not the same geometry, but what I'm getting at is that it's a lot easier to fill up the tanks than then having to drain it back, right? And having to run it all the way back because of that geometry. The part about filling is that you have a bit of help as well with gravity of how it works, right? And draining back, it's you're sort of always have a little bit of that part of against gravity on certain places, on certain parts of the tank, especially once the level is quite low, right? Yeah. On that same note, I was gonna say that will also be a part of how complicated it will be to do propellant transfer in orbit, because things get even funnier when you have ship to ship and geometries of the tanks inside and supply lines and everything. Yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting how efficient they can be with that.
Oh yeah. By the way, can I just point out how amazing it is that we're talking about the speed of the propellant load and everything, and even though it was a short one, the static fire and all of the amazing achievements that have been made, as today marks 100 years since the first ever liquid propellant rocket flight made by Robert Goddard. 100 years to the day. I mean, we're talking it was only like 4 seconds, so longer than the static fire, but still.
The flight of his rocket probably could have taken place inside the transfer tube.
Easily.
Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah.
If only they had static fires at the time.
Probably could have taken place within a Rocket Lab Electron, but that's another story. But still.
Yeah, one of those chines on Super Heavy is larger than an Electron.
Yeah. But it's just mind-boggling to realize that the modern age of rocketry, 100 years ago today, and we now have this on the pad doing testing. Just gotta say, there it is. You can see there is Robert Goddard with his famous rocket back in the day. And yeah, amazing. By the way, sure, you may be able to pull it up on X there, but if you had Facebook, by the way, just saying, our team over there puts this day in spaceflight history, so that's over there as well. So you should check it out on the socials. I know people Facebook is only for old people. We post some good stuff over there, just saying.
Well, hey, the old people also deserve to know about spaceflight. Come on. If you are there, share it with those old people. I don't know, just saying. Maybe they can benefit.
I still use Facebook. I get it.
Instead of AI-generated content with it's very common
True.
there. Anyways.
That is true. None of our content is AI generated. I want to put that out there. We make all of our stuff. So all of our team writes those up and does the research on it, looks it up. So it's all humans. It is all humans, people. Anyway, no, I did not get to meet Robert Goddard. I did intern at the Goddard Space Flight Center, if that counts. That's good enough for a Sawyer Flex there? Anyway, we were talking about the green before. Max, you have it, I think, in this shot, right?
Yeah, this is what I was talking about during Starship Flight 9. This is the first time that they have reflown a super heavy booster, Booster 14. And this is when one of the outer ring of 20 Raptors went engine rich for literally a split second. Like it happened and then it didn't. It was super quick. Like if you blinked, you missed it. Even my slow motion footage barely caught it as well. So it was just incredibly fortunate timing for one of my still cameras to catch the moment by itself. And of course, obviously, here is the result on your screen. But yeah, flight-proven Raptors at that point were still an unproven thing, especially on Super Heavy. So not entirely unsurprising to see one unhappy for a moment at least, because the outer ring of 20 Raptors, at least on the version 2 boosters, were not actively cooled because they weren't being relit during reentry. Of course, they were during launch and chilled down for launch, but they weren't chilled down for reentry. So they weren't cold enough or thermally protected with the super cold propellant in its nozzle, and because of that, they got super hot and warped. So they saw a lot. We saw it a lot on the Starship Flight 11 stream as well, from one of SpaceX's cameras looking up from the bottom of the launch mount, looking up towards the bells of the Raptors, because of course on Flight 11 was also a reflight of Booster 15, and you can, if you look at the outer ring of 20 Raptors,
hang on,
some of the engine bells, some of the engine bells were very some of the engine bells were very, very warped and not circular. So yeah, an unhappy Raptor is usually a sign, or is usually signaled by a flash of green exhaust being engine rich, burning some of the copper in the combustion chamber.
There we go. And I think that's available as a print in the shop.
I believe it is as well, yes.
So you made the entirety of our chat just talking about, how old they are and what was the earliest launch of this on TV.
You're welcome. I'm also being told by LSRs on our social media team that it is posted to where young people are, not only on Facebook. So,
MySpace?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, all the young people are
AOL Instant
MySpace.
Messenger?
Oh my God. I don't want to know people's aim screen.
TikTok.
You
TikTok.
got mail.
You got mail.
What was everyone's aim screen name?
You mean, are we talking Vine too? Is it posted to Vine?
Funny enough,
man.
SpaceX now is the owner of Vine.
Yeah. Admittedly,
I was
the
gonna
static
say.
fire could have fit within a Vine, given that it was maximum 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say, now they own Vine. Just saying.
Man.
Which, for those who are kind of just joining in, by the way, there was a static fire. It appeared to be under a second in length, but they did do a static fire test, as you can see on the bottom of the screen there, about an hour ago. So.
A little over an hour ago. It's down there on the ticker, by the way, if you want to scroll back on another tab. Otherwise, you will not hear us anymore.
Well, you'll hear us just from an hour ago.
Exactly.
Here you go. Here's a replay of it. So this was what we saw earlier. So the DSS. We saw the deluge. Start and stop.
there you go.
Look at how just quickly that exhaust plume leaves the trench. In just that half-second period of time, or that 1 second period of time.
Ooh. Hang on. Can we scroll back in this video? Because I just noticed there's like maybe drops of water deposited on this camera.
Alex saw
Wait,
something.
Yeah. After the static fire. Look
Oh,
at
the
that.
bottom.
See?
Yeah,
By the
there
black-
is.
Yeah, by the black tarp area there.
I think it's from the exhaust itself.
Yeah, I think it's the exhaust definitely did that.
Yeah.
How far away is this camera?
Not very.
Wait
No.
for it. There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
That's funny.
what
Exciting
you get
television,
in-
folks, as we're staring here waiting for rain droplets, basically.
But this was like what? Less than a second burn? Now imagine a longer
Yeah.
burn, or even the full 33 engines.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
we're gonna need those systems that you see at like the fancy games where they have the lenses that just constantly spin to knock off snow and water. Just keep them dry
Yeah,
through
Gage, you
all of
need to
that.
go out there and clean up that lens.
Hey,
There's
at
like a
least
red car going down the road.
at least it's just from water and the exhaust plume. It could be SRB stuff, which is much worse.
Oh God, yeah, that's nasty stuff. If that gets on your cameras, wipe it off immediately.
Oh, it will crust on. I have a tripod that is just. It was nearly impossible to get it off because I waited, so it still has splotches on it of what was SRB exhaust. Let's see here.
Oh,
What?
I'm not seeing much more vapor coming off the booster. It's mostly just
Yeah.
probably just frozen moisture at this point, and looks like the methane drain just went, which means the methane, there shouldn't be any more methane on board that booster unless it's just a little bit that needs to get drained out. So the next one you see should be the locked drain that comes out, and then after that it should be full depress of the vehicle. But there is basically almost no liquid left on that booster anymore. It's basically empty at this point.
At least for methane or for LOX as well?
For both. The
Yeah.
frost you see on that is deceiving to how much there's left on board. Mostly that is just frost from the air moisture frozen with the tank still being as cold as it is. Basically, there's almost no liquid left in there. It should be almost entirely detanked at this point. The tanks just have to warm up and melt the frost. Is all that basically has to happen at this point, and that can take a while.
So
Which
do
is
they have
ironic.
to wait for that to totally defrost before they can go back out to the pad, or no?
No,
really.
all they need to do is they gotta drain out the rest of the liquid that's really in there that needs to get out, and then
God.
depress both tanks so that they're back down to like 1 atmosphere or whatever, and then at that point the vehicle should be safe to open the road.
Is that pattern because of the stringers inside?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Look at that.
For those who don't know, what are the stringers, by the way?
Reinforcements, vertical reinforcements inside the tank.
Yep.
Oh, is that the
That sounds like
difference?
the vents.
Yep.
Yeah.
That might be depressed.
Let's see if we can capture that.
I literally was just talking about final depress, and it sounds like they're doing it right now. Almost. Well, it's shut off, but...
Hey, if SpaceX is watching just based off of the timing of that, like, hey, they were watching us. Oh, they said depress vent. Depress. Oh, man. Well, that's still pretty cool looking. There it is.
Yeah, there
See
you
one of
go.
the vents there.
They're depressing the LOX tank now, and they only do that when there's when there's almost no liquid left. So, yeah, as you can tell, there's the frost that's on there is deceiving as to how far down they've detanked, which is basically they've fully detanked this vehicle at this point.
We'll see if it lets us talk, because it's going to do a lot of venti vent while we try and talk.
What?
What are these, chocolate?
And you can notice it takes about an hour. So right now we're already like an hour and 10 minutes after the test. The other day it took a little bit longer, closer to like an hour and a half. That's why I said earlier, the timing and how long it might take, right? It sort of depends. The other day we were talking about this, right? That it's mostly done with gravity, right? Like it's the own gravity down to those QDs, those quick disconnects. But it also depends on like, tank farm, sector, etc. Yeah, it's also kind of weird that we see so much frost today on that booster, considering it's quite warm outside, right? Like it's sunny and everything.
I don't know if the fact that there was tropical storm force winds earlier had any role in that.
Maybe.
If one
It's
side
61. It's 61 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees C out there right now.
That's
And
it.
it's windy. So with the
It's not
wind, you get kind of a. You're probably winds are 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 39 too. So your combination of that, I mean, the tank is gonna stay cold. I mean, it's in the 60s, but you add the wind into that, it's not really wind chill, but you're down into the 50s or lower for like a wind chill. So I'm not that surprised that the frost is staying on that long with that kind of conditions. To be honest,
That's
I
pretty
would have
chilly.
thought that wind would have made it worse for the frost to stay on, because it will mean that it's easier for it to get fresh air, if you will, for it to warm.
Yeah,
I
but
think it's
it
more
might
visible
be
on one
acting
side,
like
though, right?
it might be acting like wind chill with how windy it actually is, and actually helping keep the tank cold. Is
We
what
need
it
a
might be
paper or
doing.
something from
Yeah.
somebody that
Well,
studies the defrosting process of the
well,
booster.
that's actually strange because with what we observe mostly here on the Space Coast with Falcon 9, whichever way the wind is usually coming from, ice does not usually build up that much on that side. It always develops more thoroughly and thick on the leeward side
Yeah.
compared to the airflow. So I don't know.
Part of the reason why I mentioned what I mentioned, that when we see that, for example, on Falcon 9s, it's like, well, duh, because the wind is sort of bringing new air, right? And even though it might have more moisture to be able to stick to it, at the same time, the wind is sort of, removing that air away, and it doesn't have enough time to get so cold to, stick to the wall of the tank. Like, you can imagine that as part of the reasoning. So it's very weird that in today's case, the wind is sort of helping the frost stick to the rocket for longer.
Yeah, and again, it's worth noting that usually one side, based off of the wind direction, will be a little frostier than the other. In fact, we've seen that, Max, you and I have seen that a bunch with Falcon 9 launches, where if the wind is blowing from one direction, it will look like Falcon 9 is not that frosty, whereas the other side is completely frosted over.
We've actually been fooled before with the wind blowing in just the right direction. We can't actually see frost building up on the vehicle, nor see any vapor actually
Ooh.
coming off it either.
Next
And
went out.
Beach is open.
Breaking news.
whoa,
The beach is open, so let's wait for the roadblock to go out. But the text went out for that, so
We should
Let's see
also
here.
keep an eye on the beach closure website,
yeah.
because
Let's see
in the
if tomorrow.
past, it's already primary tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay,
tomorrow?
so
Okay.
they're gonna go for tomorrow as well. All right, well there you go. We'll wait for the road closure to fully go away here, which it looks like they're starting to get ready to get in their vehicles and possibly drive off. Well, here we go.
There goes the Tesla
basically-
going through. Cybertruck.
Yep, there you go. Cars to the pad, and so basically, so what we've noticed lately is today's closure has been removed from the beach access status. The beach is open. The road is now open, is what it looks like. They still got to move everything else there, but it's almost open. Tomorrow has now been turned to a primary, so 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., same windows they've been using this whole time. Tomorrow's now a primary window, which means they intend on testing tomorrow. So
That's good. More fire, please.
that
Yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
because SpaceX basically controls that website because it's a company town, I am more of the mind that today was planned. What they did today was entirely planned, and tomorrow they may actually do a longer duration.
that sounds that lines
At
up
that
now.
point, I don't think they would have made it primary if they didn't think they could test tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think what today happened was planned. It was probably just to test ignition, and they got it. Maybe it looks like I guess everything must have checked out, and they're gonna go ahead for tomorrow. I would say they're pretty confident with that. So here we go, another round of testing for Booster 19.
I'm
Test
not against
number
that.
5.
Also,
I
kind of
want to see
sounds
more
like
testing.
Yeah, the fact they went to immediate depress, the fact that the deluge system cut off instantly, it all the signs are kind of pointing to it.
The depress wasn't instant.
Well,
So when you actually look back at it, and I look back at it again and again, the depress happens a couple of seconds after the shutdown. We have witnessed it. I'd have to go back and pull out aborts in the past, but usually with aborts, what happens is the depress happens like the second the abort happens, because the vehicle itself, it safes the vehicle. In this case, it shut down a couple seconds passed, and then it depressed. So I think I was wrong earlier on in the stream. Based off of the evidence that's looking in front of us, it looks like this was intentional. Which I would say this: if this was really intentional, SpaceX really is going step by step with these things. I figured after doing a spin prime, a tanking test, an igniter test, they would just go for static fire, not like an initial ignition and then stop. That they're really, really going step by step with this thing, which is something we haven't really ever seen them do. Like they've never gone this step by step before with Starship. It's something new with this program,
especially this close together in between the tests, which bodes really well in terms of how the tests are going and how the vehicle and the pad systems alike are performing compared to what SpaceX had expected from them. So that's so far, knock on wood, knock on something. That's really good news so far.
Yeah, I said I was wrong. I know Kevin always says I'm always wrong, but I admitted it. I might have been wrong today. So it happens. It's been known to happen.
Yeah, forget the hashtag Alex was right. Hashtag Ryan was wrong. Oh boy. Let me thank some people here. Gary7 becoming a Pad Rat member. Bideford coming in with the super chat saying St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow. Well, hopefully the luck of the Irish will do well for SpaceX, which, remember, 4-leaf clover, the lucky charm is on all of their patches and everything that they do. So maybe that 4-leaf clover will bring the luck tomorrow.
Very true.
Nevada, thank you for upgrading to Red Team. And Adam Henley, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. We will see you in the NSF Discord. So, what a wild day of testing today already. I don't know about you folks, but I think we should do this again tomorrow.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Can we? Anyone got a time machine?
I mean, I found this random blue police box sitting on the side of the road somewhere, but I don't know.
Is it bigger on the inside?
I don't know. I couldn't get in. I didn't have a key.
You didn't just try to snap your fingers and get in either?
Yeah,
because the 10th learned he could do that,
Thank you, River. Yes.
Yes, thank you, River Song.
Yeah. Sorry,
and there
Doctor
go the
Who
trucks.
nerding out.
Road's open officially.
There you go. Road's open, basically.
The road is open. So, folks, hopefully you're all subscribed. So when we do this testing again tomorrow, you'll come right back here, same bat time. Well, same bat channel. We don't know same bat time, but I got to thank the people that were with me here today. Alex, thank you for joining.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. It was fun today with the Alexstration, I guess.
Yes, tomorrow we expect a giraffe. Max, thank you for joining as well.
Always happy to, Sawyer, and thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for coming to hang out, y'all. That was fun. Static fire operations over at the launch site are back, and that we are one more step closer to Flight 12.
Down to that. Ryan, thank you also for joining.
It's a pleasure as always. I finally got to see, it was a very short amount, but it's the first ever static fire on this pad with a Block 3 booster and with Raptor 3. It's a massive milestone in the program, and I hope we get a longer duration one tomorrow.
It's a nice little teaser for tomorrow, that's for sure. Also, teaser that hopefully we get to drop the link for the pins tomorrow for members. Just saying. Carson is the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers. And I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for today's testing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We love doing this. So hopefully you felt the hype as much as we did, and we will see you all again for the next one. And don't forget, we have Starship Update coming out later today, so you can get caught up on everything that's going on with the Starship program.
and here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal? Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.